Butterflies just crooned in my patio, whispering, "Wake up from fallacious blues." Before I could rise to recapitulate, as always, they dived into the blue. That crystal pure bit stays no more. Melancholy waves still remain alive. A familiar recall to slash the loop has sunken deep into dark Dead Sea. Butterflies charmed my entire life, chasing busy streets or lagoon yards, on moors, plains, or marathon travels in my forlorn or social hours. Their arrival is an inscrutable trait, exhaustive to light, unsoothing dawn. They appear and vanish and dazzle a feet in all hues that surround my life. Their stay is tiny, but essence booms, enticing me with caroling twill, the vast expanse of placid joy that encompasses our conscious layer. So these are the lines I just wrote, and I felt like writing a poem. I was thinking about it, but it took me 10 minutes ultimately. That's how it is. But before we begin, a couplet from Fira Garpuri, as we have a, ceremony of speaking in Urdu or Hindi couplet. सर में सौदा भी नहीं, दिल में तमन्ना भी नहीं, लेकिन एक तर्क मोहब्बत का भरोसा भी नहीं। बात यह है कि सुख ने दिले वहशी का मकाम, कुंज जिंदान भी नहीं, वुसत सहरा भी नहीं. So, with those wonderful lines from Firag Gorakhpuri, one of the great poet of the subcontinent, I welcome you all into our Sunday evening, 7 p.m. IST rendezvous, a rendezvous with Sheetal Nath Conversations. Today is our 87th historic show, and we are in 5th of March, and I hope that all of you are enjoying this spring Sunday. Spring is a beautiful season. I love it very much. It enthralls me. It enthralls my joy. It brings joy. It brings, bliss. The colors, the rivulets, the blossom around, the air. Everything seems to be, enthralling, joyous, in a blissful mood. And, everything around, the nature around is fragrant with those, wonderful, the scents and aromas of a very, very different divine state, which probably we all feel during the spring. So spring is something great. I really love spring. And, probably the humankind's love spring. Everyone loves spring. And, the spring as such, is also a kind of a, great quote I remember of probably Charles Deacon in Great Expectation. He has said that the sun is hot, sun shines hot, wind blows cool, summer is in light, and winter in the shade. That's what spring, how he defines the spring in that wonderful classic, The Great Expectations. And I think today's show we are going to open in a very great, delightful spirit of this spring, climate of spring. Having said that, I would like to say that, first of all, to be very honest enough, I'm grateful to say again and again that we drive our strength from the cross section of our wonderful, erudite, brilliant, eloquent, tasteful uh, class of people, class of viewers, great viewers, the brilliant people, and the esteemed viewers who switch into this, glue into this program week after week, since last 2 years when this program was actually incepted. And their warmth, their togetherness is always felt in this program. Without them, this program is nothing. And they are from across different cultures, different continents across the globe, in the country, in our native state, Jammu and Kashmir. I'm once again indebted to and my gratitude to all of them to be with us. So that's so wonderful. Uh, Connoisseural or literary, aplomb that we really long for, basically, It's derived from this wonderful, what you call this, the stories of the past, the traditions of the past, the cultures of the past, about art, about literature, about culture, about traditions, about archaeology, about architecture, about philology, and all other wonderful dimensions of this great civilization to which we all belong. Is an apt apt longing to decipher decipher the vast elements of our historicity, which lies dormant in the different time spaces and zones uh, across this the societally changing, which lies dormant across the base of our history, across the base of our centuries, across the base of our millennia. So, having said that, probably this considerate, authentic, wonderful Odyssey envisages and rather encapsulates and envisages the sagacious societal evolution and societal, revolution, evolution, and devolution. Besides that, also the transitions, ancient and old wisdoms, geniuses, icons, personalities of eminence, men and matters, legends, towns, dusty towns, dusty, the hamlets, colorful cities, streets, the native buoyancy, flora and fauna, the landscape, and all wonderful shades of our civilization in this majestic part of our great country, India, which is nestled in the majestic Himalayas, in the lap of majestic Himalayas. I would like to say that today we are going to have a subject. Our subject is about a great, great, legendary Urdu poet of the subcontinent. And before I begin, and I would like to just say that Urdu basically has a history of around. They say that Amir Khusro used to write very prolifically in Sanskrit, in Hindi, as well as in Urdu, as well as in this Persian. And this mix of both this language became the advent of Urdu. And Urdu then reached to the courtiers in the Delhi, and Delhi, the rule of Mughals, and it became the courtier. Persian was the court language. So Urdu was overwhelmed and overlapped with a lot of Persian wordology. But Urdu, to its real virginity, is always thought to be in the Awadh, in the Lucknow. Lucknow is always said to be, the center of Urdu, and Lucknow's Urdu is considered to be with having a very lesser Arabic and Persian words rather than Delhi, because Delhi had its own influences. There was one great poet of 19th, 20th century, that is Arzu Lucknowi. Arzu Lucknowi was once provoked by someone, to kya hai Urdu? What's Urdu? It's all the, camouflage of Persian and Arabic. So he rushed and came out with a book known as Surili Bansuri, which all the Urdu learned people must be knowing about. And it had not a single rooted word of Arabian and Persian. So that's how the story of Urdu goes. Nowadays, we can see that Urdu has gone into the entire subcontinent. The Sindhis, they read and write in Urdu. Punjabis, they read and write in Urdu. Kashmiris, Bengalis, South in Hyderabad, they have all their regional lingos, morphology, and many, many other things which add on to Urdu. But Urdu in the soul structure remains an Indian language, a Hindustani language. Its essence comes somewhere from the Amir, that great man, great legend of Bhakti movement, Amir Khusro, that mystic and poet, Amir Khusro. So that's how Urdu is, and certainly I would like to say about what this Arzu Lucknowi wrote. In his couplets are there bereft of Persian words, so I like to just have a rendition of those. किसने भीगे हुए बालों से ये झटका किसने भीगे हुए बालों से ये झटका पानी झूम कर आई गटा टूट के बरसा पानी फैलती धूप का है रूप लड़कपन का उठान दोपहर डलते ही उतरेगी ये उतरेगा ये चढ़ता पानी. So that's how Arzu Lucknowi used to write. So today we are going to talk about one of the great tallest legend of luminary, Urdu luminary, of the subcontinent, Professor Jagan Nath Azad. And who doesn't know about Professor Jagan Nath Azad? He had been a great, voracious reader and a prolific writer, especially in Urdu. He was an authority of, Iqbal, and he has written travelogues, wonderful travelogues when he went to the Russia and other countries. He was one of the greatest and respected poet. He was an educationist, an academician, a bureaucrat. He had a multifarious, dimensions of his personality, and he had the contacts all over the country and the globe because of his work, because of his personality. Everybody loved him, from the corridors of power to the academicians to the literatures to the artists. He had a very, very wide spectrum of friends and people around. And we are also going to talk about his great father, one of the very eminent poet, that Tilok Mehroom. Tilok Mehroom Saab is known as a freedom fighter and a great poet. And his poetry, he was a contemporary of, Kafi Azmi and this Firaq Gorakhpuri, the couplet I just started in the opening. And he was also this Iqbal Saab. They were the literary critics as well in those times, and they have written something great about his poetry. So we are also going to talk. They both were born in the, erstwhile pre-partitioned India, undivided India. So they have the memories and backgrounds, and they grown up in the soil of India, that India which was the combined India, part of this India. And he has written more than 70 books on poetry, on literature, on many aspects. And he's responsible for the greatest study on Iqbal. He has been, decorated, respected, honored, awarded, rewarded numerous times by the highest authorities and highest organizations across the country and abroad. Even he was, in a way, one time, if the good sense prevails in our neighboring country, he was also an ambassador, a good ambassador for the countries because to meet through the literature, to meet through the artistic pursuits is one of the wonderful ways to go forward. But then, everything changed. Everybody knows about the story. So today we are going to talk about very, very personalized encounter. We must be knowing about Jagannath Azad. His contribution is immense. It's very wide, it's very gigantic. But we must not be knowing about the very, very personalized encounters of the personality of Jagannath Azad and his father, Tilok Mehroom Saab. Today we are very fortunate that we have Jagannath Azad Saab's two eminent daughters, proud, literate, and brilliant daughters coming in our studio, Mrs. Mukta Lal ji and Poonam this Azad Sharma. Poonam Azad Sharma, the Azad, that is probably the pen name of her father. And there's a difference of age because they have the same father, the two mothers, because something happened in the past. The first mother died and the second came in, something like that. We'll ask these all personal stories from them only. And Mukta Lal is a very, very, great writer. She's responsible for translating Urdu literature. It is very unfortunate and very dichotomy of our time. Such a great, legendary Indian as Jagannath Azad, he's being read in Pakistan. He's read in other parts of the country. But here, the Hindi bandwagon, Hindi area, this people didn't have access because nobody could understand Urdu literature, Naskali. They could not read Naskali. So that's why, Mukta Lal has come in, and Mukta Lal has done a yeoman's service in translating these wonderful literary pieces, masterpieces about his life, about his stories, about his poems into, the Hindi. She has transliterated all these these works into the Hindi. And besides that, she has been a very senior professional at the Simons India, and she lives in Delhi. And certainly we'll ask her about days in Delhi and about the Azad Saab and other things. And let's see how the conversation unfolds. And Poonam ji she is a student of literature from the Jammu University, and she's an alumni of Presentation Convent, Srinagar, and she has studied in Kashmir University as well as she has done graduation from Women's College Maulana Azad Road, Srinagar. She has wonderful memories of Srinagar. So let us see how she connects with all these things. And she has been very, very apt, very well-known debater, orator. She was a quiz master. She was a compere, and she had contributed a lot to the books and the magazines and the journals during the university days and the later years. She is very happily married and settled down in Jammu, and I think both of them are we are very much fortunate that we have both of these daughters of Jagannath Azad ji in our studio, and this is a very great occasion, a very special occasion. Let's all welcome them with great reverence and great love and affection into the studio. Mukta Lal ji, Poonam ji, you are welcome into the Sheetalnath Conversations 87th historic show. We feel very privileged and very happy, and it's your magnanimity that you came into the show.
Jugal ji, thank you so much for welcoming me here and making me a part of this very prestigious program. I'm so delighted to be here, especially speaking about my father. It is an honor for me. It is an honor for me here to be able to share my experiences and small anecdotes relating to him from the eyes of a daughter.
Thanks. So wonderful, Poonam ji. So wonderful. I feel delighted to have you with us. Mukta Lal ji, you want to say something before we begin?
Yes, I would like to thank you, Jugal ji. I would like to thank you for inviting me also on this program, your prestigious program, and to allow me to share some of my experiences with my father and my grandfather.
Certainly, this program is all about your father and grandfather. We are going to start with these beautiful stories. जैसे घर में सुनाते हैं ना कहानियां, वही कहानियां आज सबने सुननी है. So it is we feel very at ease. You are in the right place, and we are really much delighted, and certainly it's a great matter of great honor that you both are here. And as per the paradigm and structure of this program, we normally what happens that we take over, because this program is basically about the Kashmiri and other Kashmiri, not in Kashmir only, in Jammu, in other parts of the world, Lahore, people from Lahore, from Allahabad, from Jaipur, from Lucknow, who have moved into centuries ago also. So all are coming into this program. So this is a very wide spectrum, an Indian program with legacy and sagacious stories on Kashmir as well. So for that matter, I would like to say that at least in first segment, we go to the Kashmir. First of all, I'd like to know, Mukta ji, you are not in Kashmir. Probably Poonam was in Kashmir with Azad Saab. So let's open up this program first of all and begin to know, Poonam ji, about how was Kashmir from your eyes. How do you, let's walk and jog through you into the lanes of streets of Kashmir as a young adolescent child with such a legendary father who was a bureaucrat in those days and a writer as well. And what did you see in the streets, in the institutions, in the public places, in the excursions, and the culture and the traditions? What is your candid, that tender witness of this entire Kashmir? So let's all begin with that.
Jugal ji, I was not born in Kashmir, but I was brought up in Kashmir. I have spent the best part of my life in Kashmir. Kashmir lives in my heart. I can never get Kashmir out of my heart. It's part and parcel of our personality, every household of our household. I have been in Kashmir since 1968 to 1977. I did my schooling there and my college there, my graduation there. Papa was posted there in 1968 as a Deputy Principal Information Bureau officer in the Press Information Bureau. I remember his office was in Pratap Park on the first floor. And as I see him, he was always a very busy person. He was always on the move, always busy attending meetings, attending press conferences, and managing his post very well. We were living in Tulsi Bagh, and
beautiful place.
Tulsi Bagh was a very elite colony, and will you believe it? There were 3 Azads living in Tulsi Bagh. One was Mr. Harbans Singh Azad. He was a minister for Khadi and Gramodyog during those days. Second was my father, Professor Jagan Nath Azad. And third was Mr. Ghulam Rasool Azad. So it was a very harmonious kind of an atmosphere. I grew up in a very literary kind of an atmosphere. Papa was always surrounded by books. We had the best of education, and books was his passion, We had a library in our house containing almost 45 to 50,000 books. And I have been surrounded by books and books all my life. Will you believe it? Till today, I'm the caretaker of almost 2,000 books of his.
Oh my goodness.
Publications, his library, which he has left behind. I have donated so many books to various libraries, various universities. But in spite of that, the collection was so huge that I still am in possession of so many books, in spite of the fact that he has gone away from us so many years back. He passed away in 2004. But I have, this is basically because I cannot part with his books. I cannot send them, or I cannot part with them in such a way where they will not be valued. I am always looking for somebody who will value his books and who will carry on his legacy and use them in a manner in which they really deserve to be used. And then talking about Kashmir, let me tell you one thing. We love Kashmir to the core. Kashmir is a place which I have been living in Kashmir in the 70s. And during the 70s, if I go back down memory lane, it looks like it seems to be a fairy tale now. You know, it is a fairy tale Kashmir. Kashmir those days was heavenly. The first thing that strikes me about Kashmir is its safety. Kashmir was so safe in those days. Tourists were so safe. Girls were so safe. Women were so safe. You could roam around the streets at any time of the evening or dusk or even late. Tourists were so safe over there. I remember my mother and I, we generally used to go to Lal Chowk and Residency Road and walk back till even after dusk, without an iota of fear of any mishap happening or any untoward happening. Robbery and theft was something which you had never heard in Kashmir.
It was not in Kashmir. Kashmir was very
It was
peaceful.
never in Kashmir. Crime was not associated with Kashmir at all. It was such a heavenly place. It was such a beautiful place. I did my schooling from the Presentation Convent, and Presentation Convent in those days was run by Irish nuns.
Yeah.
Nuns were very strict, disciplinarians, no nonsense, absolutely, but they were very affectionate and very soft at heart. We had the morning assembly every day, and teachers from all over the country were almost teaching there. It was not restricted to just locals. Locals were also included, but there were teachers of wives of army officers, bureaucrats, people who were posted in Kashmir for their services. We had all kinds of teachers there, and teachers were very loving. I have wonderful memories of my school days. I passed out school. In those days, matriculation was the board exam. Ours was the last batch of matriculate students. After that, the next 11th class started. I then did my PUC and TDC course from the Government Women's College, Maulana Azad Road, which itself is a very prestigious institution.
Yeah, that's a wonderful.
remember,
Who was the principal? Who was the principal then, ma'am?
I will just come to that. The principal in those days was Madam Shamla Mufti.
Shamla
and
Mufti.
she was a very good administrator. She held the college in great esteem. I mean, there was a lot of discipline in the college. The teachers were excellent. The teachers have played have a wonderful role in forming our personalities. Besides academics, we were taught a lot of other things also. I remember I used to take, beside academics, cultural activities were very popular in those days. Our college was always on the move, doing dramas, skits, debates. And I still remember we used to have inter-college debates with Nawakadal College. Nawakadal College was supposed to be our arch rival. So it was a thing. Yes, it was a thing of prestige. Ke Nawakadal se jeetna hi jeetna, And I have wonderul memories. I have been a very active participant in most of the events, whether it is, and then I remember Tagore Hall also very well. Tagore Hall was a very prestigious, drama hall, an auditorium rather, where from school also, many times from school also, we have been participating in dance recitals and small skits or plays. From college also, Tagore Hall, I have been participating in dramas also to be displayed in Tagore Hall also. And with my father also, I remember there used to be a lot of shows in Tagore Hall. Yamini Krishnamurti, Asa Singh
Yamini.
Mastana, all these people, all these people used to come, and my father used to get passes, and my mother and I always attended these shows. So Kashmir in those days was, and there was a lot of harmony. I mean, you were, individuals, you were friends, you were human beings. You were not a Hindu or a Muslim over there.
Those things were not there in Kashmir.
Those things were never there in anybody's mind. And will you believe it? My school bonding, the students, the friends that I had in school are still friends with me. The bonding of school is so strong. Yes, the bonding of school friends is so strong. We are grannies now, but we started our lives together. We started our schooling together. And now we have reached such a stage where we are, aging, but we have never forgotten each other. Most of my friends are very much in touch with me.
That's
Kashmir, I remember Kashmir. I mean, I have no words to tell you how much Kashmir has grown.
Anything about any excursions, about the outings and the trekking, everything used to happen in Valley, I remember, in those times.
Yes, I will tell you. Actually, the atmosphere in our house was very strict. My father was a very strict disciplinarian. He never liked nonsense of any kind. You could not, you could not sit in front of him with folded legs, or you could not. No, he was very particular about conduct. Conduct and manners were very important to him. I remember a small incident when I used to get my report card signed from him. He never used to pay attention to the marks. He always used to say, read the class to which I had been promoted, and he would say, "Arey, tum 6th mein pahunch gayi. Arey, tum 7th mein pahunch gayi." So I used to tell him, "Papa ji, aapko pata hi nahi hai main kaun si class mein hu." He was like that, He was in a world of
preoccupied with his work and literature and other things.
Yes, but we gave him that much because we knew he was in a different world altogether, and what he was doing was, it was beyond us. I was too small to understand or to gauge his, his height. I was too small.
Understand.
Yes, and then excursions and all, whatever we went from school because Papa had no time for all this. Picnic was something which was not in his dictionary. We didn't have the courage to tell him कि हमने आज picture जाना है या आज हमने वहाँ जाना है. We used to bunk college.
In school and colleges, there could have been the picnics, so joint picnics and excursions.
Yes, school and colleges we used to go. I have been to Ladakh from my college. This was in 1978. A tour was organized to Ladakh.
Slightly keep a distance from the instrument. Probably sometimes it freezes in between. Yeah, slightly. Yeah. Now we come. Please.
Gone to Ladakh on an excursion from college. We went on a tour for about a week, and there were two buses. One was a security bus, with us, and the second was our bus. And I can never forget the wonderful times I've had in my college. During college, excursions were not very frequent, but during schools, picnics were frequent. I mean, it was mandatory that that every class was taken for a picnic to some place or the other. And I have wonderful memories with my teachers, with my co-students, with my friends of excursions. But from home, we had a very strict atmosphere. We could never even suggest. I used to see movies. My mother was very fond of movies. And will you believe it? My father, whenever he used to enter our bedroom and the TV was on, he would always ask my mother, "Ye kya dekh rahi ho tum?" She would say, "Arey, itni achhi picture hai." He used to say, "भाई आप पिक्चर देखती रहती है, कोई काम की पिक्चर देखा करो." My mother used to say, "आपको इन चीजों में इंटरेस्ट नहीं है ना, इसीलिए आपको ये अच्छा नहीं लग रहा है." But he was a different person altogether. He was totally into his own world. I have always seen him sitting at his desk and working. He used to work tirelessly. He was never tired. And there are instances when neighbors used to come and tell us कि रात को आजाद साहब की बत्ती 2 बजे तक जलती रही. And my mother used to say, हाँ. So he used to say, Mr. Harban Singh Azad was our immediate neighbor. So he used to say कि मैंने इनका नाम ना जगन्नाथ से हटा के किताब नाथ रख दिया है. So we all used to say कि अरे आप कैसी बात करते हैं, हमारे पापा इतने लायक हैं, वो 2-2 बजे तक पढ़ते रहते हैं और उन्होंने इतनी किताबें लिखी हैं, तो आप उनका मजाक उड़ा रहे हो. He says, फिर क्या हो गया, वो मुझसे छोटा है. Light, like and light-hearted. So Kashmir is heaven for us.
That's so great to know about all these things. And any special memories, any anecdote about your college life or school life or the street life, which you, any incident as an to an impressionable mind when you were in your adolescent on the later years? Who you in women's college? Who were your teachers? Did Nirja Mattu teach you, Professor Nirja Mattu?
Yes, yes, yes. I'm so privileged to be her student. Mrs. Mattu was there. Then Mrs. Masuda Yasin has taught me psychology. Mrs. Jay Kishori Pandita has taught me general English. Yes.
Okay.
Her daughter Suniti was my classmate in the convent. And
Okay.
Mrs. Javed has taught me education. Then there was a Hindi teacher we had, Mrs. Zuchi. She was very active directing Hindi plays. So I have been very much in contact with her because I used to take part in plays over there.
That's so
So
wonderful.
Mrs. Zuchi also was a very wonderful lady.
You went around in those places, like people used to go on Shivratri and Janmashtami. People used to go to the Shankaracharya and Hanuman Mandir and other places, Shetalnath.
We used to go to Shankaracharya as for trekking, a group of friends.
Trekking, it was a trekking place, yeah.
I told you Kashmir was so safe. I had a group of friends who would, twice after 2 months or after 3 months, we would take bicycles on hire and cycle from Tulsi Bagh to Nehru Park. That was, a wonderful experience. We were so free. And then we used to trek from Nehru Park to Shankaracharya. Those were the kind of picnics we had. That was the kind of fun we had. Bunking classes from college and going to movies was the ultimate for us.
And movies, there were very limited hall. Broadway was there, and then there was
since Regal was right close to our college. Palladium was there, Regal was there.
That was an ancient hall.
And getting a ticket in Palladium was a Herculean task, because you had to climb, you had to this thing. So Palladium was less, Regal was more. And Broadway, of course, they had
Broadway was eloquent. That was the best.
Yes, they had this evening shows, English movie, 7 p.m. show, I still remember. We used
all the
to
best movies used to go there. English movies used to come there. They used to go to Apsara and Soran and Palladium and Regal and Srinagar and Broadway as well. All the best movies were there.
Yes.
But there was only one trouble, that all the tickets used to be sold by the blackers. I mean, there was not a single ticket you could get on the window. I remember, that's my experience. And another bad thing about, I talked to one Tina ji, Dr. Tina Anjala Shah had come, and I talked about Kashmiri cinema. And I said the two bad things. One was this: the ticket was not available and you have to buy in black for students. And another thing was that it was all smoke all around. And people used to feel suffocated. Smoking was part of that.
In those days, Yes. But we enjoyed. As long as we were enjoying things, it didn't matter whether there was smoke or whatever it was.
As a juvenile life at a younger stage, these things are all wonderful.
The thrill of bunking classes and going for a movie has its own charm. And in those days, adolescent days, when you were in college, it's a very big thing that you are bunking college, and it gives you a special kind of
bunking is it's a wonderful thing. It happens in everybody. It's a break from the routine. Poonam ji, will come back to you, and first now let us go to Mukta ji, and first of all, Mukta ji, before we begin, a conversation with you, also include you into the conversation. Already you are a part of the conversation. But before that, I would like to ask you, there is a couplet written, Jagannath Azad's photograph behind Poonam ji, and she has put it there. There is a couplet written there. I cannot read Naskali, and I really want to know what its couplet is. Would you please?
I will just read it for you. It says, Bahare baage inka ke nazare kam nahi honge. Nazare dekhne walon mein lekin hum nahi honge. Ye नाकदरी जमाने की जो हम पर आज हंसती है, हमें उस वक्त रोएगी यहाँ जब हम नहीं हो.
Beautiful. And how rightly he has said. I remember a couplet of Ghalib on this. हुई मुद्दत के गालिब मर गया पर याद आता है, वो हर बात पे कहना यूं होता तो क्या होता. Anyway, Mukta ji, we had a brief understanding. Poonam was brought up in Kashmir because you were from the first mother, you were in Delhi, and you were married in early. I probably know about it. And before we begin about your childhood, give a brief account of your childhood with Azad Sahab in Delhi. How are the things around there, about his persona, about your mother, about the development and your grandfather? Give us something about it. Then we'll travel to the pre-partition days of Azad Sahab and talk about Azad Sahab's father.
Definitely. But before I start off with about my childhood, I like to read one couplet. आपने उर्दू की बात की थी तो उर्दू पर मेरे फादर ने जो लिखा था, उर्दू को मिटाओगे तो मिट जाएगी, खुशबू ये फिजा को फिर ना महकाएगी, लेकिन ये भी खूब है ए दीवानो, तहजीब में किस कदर कमी आएगी. So he said उर्दू हमें
Beautiful.
तहजीब सिखाती है, उठने का, बैठने का. So that was his concept of Urdu. Yeah. Now
It
about
was
my
a, it was
childhood.
a, it was it came out to be an eloquent language. People with the socialite circles, with they had the etiquette and everything. You came in those days, but with the time
Ji,
everything changes. And nowadays, Urdu
exactly.
is more of a Persian. It is less of an Urdu, more of a Persian. In those days, Persian Urdu was there, actual Urdu.
The thing is,
I want,
Poonam
yeah, Delhi के
myself,
बारे में
we
बताइए कुछ. Talk
जी
about
sorry,
earlier days in Delhi. Yeah.
earlier days. Actually, Poonam और मेरा इतना age gap है कि what her childhood was with the father and what mine was quite different. To be very honest, I was quite scared of him. When I say I was scared of him, maybe today's generation may think it is, insulting, but it is not that insult. That fear was out of respect. That fear towards my father that I had, it was out of respect. Basically, why? Because the moment we would sit with him, the first thing he would ask me about studies. Pahade sunao. Suddenly, while talking to my grandfather, he'll look at me or my sister, 15, 15. My God, we were petrified. Or geography questions. So, that was a reason. You will not believe me.
15 you 15 you mean the tables? Tables?
Yes.
Table, pahade, ji, हाँ.
15
वो
पहाड़े. My God, that's बहुत difficult है. 15.
very difficult. And for us, especially I was not a very good student. So many times I used to pray कि मुशायरे पे बाहर चले जाए तो अच्छा है. वापसी में मिठाई भी आएगी और हमें पूछेंगे नहीं. So because at night we used to all sit together. We were staying in Old Delhi. तो वो रात को चारपाई बिछा के सारे बैठते थे, सोते थे. So my grandfather also. But then
Old Delhi
this
में
was
कहाँ पे?
something.
Where in Old Delhi? Where in Old Delhi?
We were actually after partition we got a house in Morigate, but that was a very
Morning.
small house.
Okay.
Morigate, we had only one room, one veranda, one angan. And in that, my grandparents, my father, he got married there, second marriage. Myself,
Okay.
my sister, one of my fufi, she also got married in that house.
Okay.
Afterwards, Josh Maliabadi ko jo makan mila hua tha, he told my grandfather that when I will get the government accommodation, I will make sure that you get this house. And that house was in Pulbangash, which was like a mini Haveli. It was a
Okay.
beautiful and brand new house because it was not even fully constructed. I think the gentleman who was staying there, he had to, go to Pakistan during partition. So he left the house unfinished. So we were staying in that house, in that old Delhi. So my father, that way he was a bit, strict with us. And now Poonam is talking about films and all. In our
Yeah.
case, films and card playing was totally banned. We could not talk about films in front of our father. We could not ask him that we want to see a film. We could not
Okay.
look through the film fair or this screen magazine newspaper which my mother used to get, but we could not see. We were not allowed. If
You were
we
such a
came to
strict
know,
disciplinarian, huh? Such a strict
very
disciplinarian.
difficult. And for that matter, even our grandfather was very rather, if I say strict, that is the wrong word. But what they did with us, I think that was a sort of a teaching, a good
Learning,
teaching to us.
teaching.
Now, I'll give a small example. Because, my father had to look after the family, brother, sister, his wife, myself, my sister. So if I would tell him, Papa, मेरी pencil टूट गई है, मेरी खत्म हो गई है, मुझे pencil लेनी है, then he would tell me, पहले जो खत्म हुई है pencil वो दिखाओ. So
Yeah.
now, sometimes we said why he's asking like, but now I feel he taught us the value for money.
Value
It
for
was
money.
something
That's
a good
very important.
teaching to us. So we never took it bad, and we used to अब school uniform खराब हो गया है, ये नया लेना है, इससे पुराना वाला दिखाओ कितना खराब हो गया है, that way. And as far as my
In those
grandfather
times,
was
there was always a dearth of money. There was the resources were limited. Everybody was
exactly,
struggling. It was
exactly.
in the entire continent. These things were happening. Yeah.
And you see, by talking to us like this and by making us behave like this, we learnt a lot. Because today's
Yes.
generation, they don't have that kind of value for money and all, but what we have, I don't think the other younger generations have. And even for as Poonam said, he was very conservative. We were not allowed to wear without sleeve shirts. We
Of
had
course.
to wear full sleeve. In our school, till primary school, I was from Queen Mary School. We had the option of wearing skirts till primary school or salwar kameez throughout. Me and my sister from nursery class, we were in salwar kameez. We were not allowed to wear skirts. My grandfather was totally against that. So that was the kind of life, we had with our parents. And
And tell us
to be,
something about Delhi during your college days a bit. When did actually when you got, which was the year when you got married?
I got married in 63.
Oh my God, long back. Somewhere around we are
Long,
born. Yeah, 63.
yes.
And before 63, you stayed with your, I mean, in that Morigate house and other house in the New
No,
Delhi. And
we became young. I think by late 40s or early 50s, we shifted to Pulbangaj. That's a house which was allotted to my father, and with the help of Josh Malia Badi sir.
Josh
So
Miliawan.
that was
Okay.
the house we got. So
And yeah.
just just please.
Actually, if you have any anecdote to say, you just narrated beautiful anecdotes about your father, and it gave a description. It evocated, it created that ambience of that time, how the times were. But any other anecdote you want to tell, you want to share with us, which you recollect about your father in those days in Delhi, especially.
Those see, if I'm not mistaken, sometimes in the late 40s, after the partition, it was either 47 end or 48 beginning, he was uh, invited to Pakistan for a mushaira, which, there were total three poets from India who were invited. So two of them, one was Jigar Muradabadi, one was Noor Saab. They both
Okay.
said it's very difficult to go, and my father decided to go against my grandfather's wishes.
Okay.
So, that was the time, when we all were a bit. I was, of course, very small, but I could hear my grandfather saying that it is not safe and all. So that was the time when he went. And when he went there, I believe he was very emotional. And the जो उन्होंने वहां पर नज्म पढ़ी, I was later we learned some from writings and all that his throat was choked and he had tears in his eyes, and the wordings were तेरी बज़्म तरब में सोज़े बिना लेके आया हूँ, चमन में यादें या में बहारा लेके आया हूँ, मैं अपने घर में आया हूँ, मगर अंदाज तो देखो कि अपने आप को मानिंदे मेहमान लेके आया हूँ. So that
Ah,
was, yeah,
beautiful. This story of
that
all
was,
of us. This is story of all of us,
yes.
which he had seen already.
So,
Muktaji, let's first of all, I mean, let's slightly go backward, because in my program, I normally, swing around, oscillate around from one era
yes.
to another era, creates a sense of wonder and interest. Let's go back to the pre-partition India. India of those times, a great India, which had a great wing, which is now known as Pakistan. Your grandfather and your father, your grandfather was already a celebrated poet, and he was also
Yes.
he was a contemporary of Firaq Gorkpuri, and I have heard Kafi Azmi and Iqbal Saab. And your grandfather, along with your grandfather, how was the life they had in pre-partition India, in Pakistan, where their family belonged? And tell us something which anecdotes you must have heard about, the stories you must have heard about through your mother or your father or your grandfather. Tell us something about those days, their days in
See, as
Pakistan.
far as my grandfather is concerned, they say as per his pen name, Mehroom, Mehroom means vanchit, deprived. He has been
Yes, yes,
deprived of all the happiness on the earth. He was never happy because of certain instances. I'll just tell you. And
okay,
somebody wrote that he was such a person who wanted to be, solitude में रहना उनको पसंद था, और वो इतने गमगीन थे कि वो खुशी में भी गम ढूंढ लेते थे, even if there was something nice. Because you see, first of all, when he lost his father, he was very much broken up. Then afterwards, he lost his first
you're
wife,
talking about Tilak, when
my
Mehroom
grandfather,
Mehroom
Mehroom
Saab.
Saab, my grandfather. He
Mhm.
lost his wife after 5 years of his marriage, and she left behind a young girl, young baby, rather 1 year old baby. So
Okay,
he was very much, and her name was Vidya, his daughter.
okay,
So then after a year or so, he married second time, who was my grandmother. But I'll talk about Vidya first, my Vidya, who was supposed to be her aunt. She got married at a very young age, and due to some problem with her in-laws, at the age of 22, after giving birth to 4 children, she committed suicide by burning herself. So that was the turning point in my grandfather's life. After that,
Oh.
my father says my grandfather never had a smile on his face, which he used to. My father wrote, and he told us also, the day Vidya Bua died, my grandfather was very restless since morning. And my father asked him 2-3 times, "Kya problem hai? Sab theek hai." He thought maybe some problem in the school because he was the headmaster and he was having continuously problems in the school because everybody wanted to become an officer, and you know things were not so good in school also. So he said, I didn't ask him again and again what happened. But in the afternoon, they got a telegram saying Vidya died this morning. So my father says that probably
Very
my
sad.
father knew morning only that this is going to happen. So that was a turning point in my grandfather's life. So and after that, his life has been quite, roller coaster like that. Then he lost another daughter of his after she was about 2 years old, and after about 2 weeks sickness or so, that baby girl died. So that वो भी उन्होंने उसको हिंदू धर्म से क्रिमेशन नहीं की, उनको दफनाया. And
Why?
for
What
three
was the
days
reason? Hmm.
she was not well. She got sick.
Okay.
तो उन्होंने उसको, because he didn't believe in this religious discrimination, तो उन्होंने
Okay.
probably that was his desire. And for 3 days he used to go to her grave with my father with a glass of milk, and all the 3 days he used to come back and then write a nazm on her. पहली सुबह, दूसरी सुबह, तीसरी सुबह. Then he stopped going. That was a turning point. And
Okay.
as far as my father is concerned, he was uh, I think he was hardly 5 years old when he developed his poetic instinct. My grandfather was being transferred from Isak Hell to Kalur Court, because Isak Hell, my grandfather was, the water was very bad and he got problem with his, he got stone in his kidney. So he got treated in Bannu, but then he wanted to move out from Isak Hell. From Isak Hell to Kalur Court, they had to cross this river Sindh. And those days there was no bridge, so they had to go by steamer and all. So
Okay.
my father was just 5 years old. So when they sat in the steamer, और उधर ना I believe बहुत नमक के पहाड़ हैं, उनके ऊपर बड़े सुंदर सुंदर मकान बने हुए हैं. So my grandfather just said a misra कि पहाड़ों के ऊपर बने हैं मकान. And then he told my father, इस मिसरे को पूरा करो. He immediately said, अजब इनकी सूरत, अजब इनकी शान. So grandfather said, सूरत नहीं कहते, शौकत कहते हैं.
Shaukat.
So yeah, that's how his poetry instinct started.
Again.
And then at home, my father says initially he was not sent to school, although my grandfather was headmaster in Isa Khel, but he taught my father Urdu at home. वो गत्ते के टुकड़े लेके उस पे अली बे पे करके उनको सिखाया, and this is how he learned.
उस
So
जमाने में
at
मश्क नहीं
home,
होती थी, मश्क होती थी ना, मश्क जिस पे लिखते
जी
थे वो.
जी जी जी.
जी.
तो
Yes, so
he
please continue, man. Yeah.
And when this alphabets were over, he learned. Then straight away my grandfather gave him Diwane Ghalib, and he told him ये शेर पढ़ो. So उन्होंने एक शेर पढ़ा. I don't remember which शेर it was. So my grandfather told him तुम इस इम्तिहान में पास हो गए हो. So father said I did not understand what he meant by this. So years later he asked him कि आपने ये कहा था, इसका क्या मतलब था. So grandfather said कि इसका मैं ये देखना चाहता था कि तुम शेर को ठीक से पढ़ सकते हो या नहीं, और तुमने ठीक से पढ़ा. So and this was when he was 5-6 years old. Afterwards, what happened? There was in Miyawali, there was some ceremony, some program, jalsa type, not the mushara. So there my father went and उन्होंने नाशिद साहब की नज़म जोगी उन्होंने by heart पूरी सुनाई. तो उसके बाद when he was 8 years old, there was a mushaira in Bhere. So my grandfather asked him, mushaira mein chaloge? So he said mushaira was a totally new word for me. I did not know what is a mushaira. Although grandfather tried to explain to him, but he said कि मुझे फिर भी समझ नहीं आया. जब ये भेड़े जा रहे थे रास्ते में, there was a station कुंडलिया. कुंडलिया में they had to change the train. So while they were waiting here, Hafiz Jalandhari Sahab was train se utre, because my grandfather knew that he's coming by this train, and they met very अच्छे से तपाक से मिले, गले मिले. तो उन्होंने, that was the first time my father met Hafiz Jalandhari Sahab. और जब ट्रेन चेंज की, Hafiz Jalandhari Sahab went in second class and my father
Hafiz
and grandfather second inter class. So my father says he thought कि only teachers are so senior, they can travel by second class, nobody else can. So he asked my grandfather, is he a teacher? He said, no, he's a poet. So he said कि ये शायर है, मगर इनका तो कोई कलाम दर्सी किताबों में नहीं है. So he said दर्सी किताबों में नहीं है, पर आ जाएगा. So there he met Hafiz Jalandhari Sahab, and he was very happy to meet him. So वहाँ पर क्या हुआ after
Hafiz
the
Jalandhari was
मुशायरा?
a great poet.
Sorry.
Okay, he was a great poet. Hafiz Jalandhari was a great poet.
Yes, and very good friend of my grandfather. So वहाँ पर I believe the organizers asked my father. He was only 8 years old. कि तुम भी कोई कुछ सुनाओगे? He said हाँ, मुझे याद है. So he named so many poems, grandfather की भी, औरों की भी. So he said, अच्छा आप हिंदू मुसलमान सुनाओ. हिंदू मुसलमान is a नज़्म by my grandfather. उन्होंने वो सुनाई. हाफिज साहब ने उनसे वो नज़्म सुन लिया कि ये सुनाते हैं. So after another year, there was another मुशायरा in Multan. I think Multan was somewhere या लालपुर में. तो वहाँ sorry,
Multan.
I think it
I'm
was
just repeating what you say. Yeah, please.
I think it was in Lailpur. So उस मुशायरे में, because Hafiz Saab had heard him, this young boy reciting a poem, so he announced कि ये बच्चा भी अब आपको एक नज़म सुनाएगा. So he asked Hafiz Saab कौन से सुनाऊं. So he said he took two, three names. He said आंधी सुना दो. आंधी is by my grandfather. तो उन्होंने आंधी हाँ. तो my father was so small, so such a young boy. Hafiz Saab picked him up and made him stand on the table, and he says मैंने आंधी की रफ्तार में आंधी सुना दी. He says actually आंधी, if we talk about my grandfather, there are few poems which are very famous, like नूर जहां का मजार, आंधी, that's कलूर कोट की आंधी, and भारत माता क्यों रोती है. So people talk about those. So this Andhi,
Actually, I want to before we come to the literary part of them, I would like to go back to his days in this Rawalpindi. They shifted to Rawalpindi. How was the atmosphere like? You must have heard some stories. Your father was also there because they shifted to Rawalpindi. Or
my father, you see, after his FA for BA admission, he came to Rawalpindi. Then grandfather also got transferred to Rawalpindi. तो उनके भी Rawalpindi में, because of him he got Rawalpindi. और my father took admission in Gordon College. तो वहाँ पर ना इन्होंने बज़्म अदब की फाउंडेशन ले की. बज़्म अदब में my father was the editor of the magazine also. और बज़्म अदब में I think practically every week they used to have some mushaira or something or the other they used to have, in which he also used to take part. And my grandfather and my grandfather's friend Adam Saab also used to go and participate. My grandfather had a very big social life in Rawalpindi. His I can give you some names also. I don't have them right now. One was Mr. Adam. Adam Saab was very close to my grandfather, and he used to come to our house practically every day. From his after his office, he used to come every day. My God, I never did. So, and Adam Saab used to stay with my grandfather till late night. And my father says that he used to, listen to their talk. और अदम साहब की सारी डाक और ग्रैंडफादर की डाक इतनी होती थी, जैसे any paper you open, and then it was a topic of discussion. Any paper, कोई आप लिफाफा खोलिए, कोई आप मैगजीन खोलिए, they said इकबाल, गालिब, दिल्ली, लखनऊ, सबकी डिस्कशन उस पे होती थी. और हाँ, उनके साथ, अदम साहब के साथ. अदम साहब was very close to my grandfather, and he used to, so my father says he used to listen to their conversation, and he was very interested. So slowly and steadily, what my father used to do, he used to, peep into my grandfather's magazines and all.
okay.
His library, his cupboards and all. And slowly, steadily, he started developing interest in his poetry. And actually, they say that when my grandfather came to Rawalpindi, it was a hub of literature. There were
Yes,
so many of them in
was a
Rawalpindi
great,
that,
great place for literary
yeah,
activity.
it was. I'll give you the name. Yeah, here are the names. Actually, because I can't remember so many names. Abdul Hamid Kadam, Alauddin Kaleem, Abdul Aziz Fitrat, Muhammad Siddiq Zia, the Zia Saab, Fitrat Saab, Adam Saab. They all used to visit my grandfather. But Adam Saab used to visit the maximum. Then there was Mr. Azhar Amrit Sari, Haji Sarhadi, Fazlul Rahman Ashq, Baki Siddiqui, Mukhtar Qureshi, they all used to meet, and it was actually a hub. So my father said that was, for my grandfather, it was like a paradise, that he's thought he's come to a paradise. It was like
Oh,
that. The Rawalpindi,
beautiful.
the
Literary
atmosphere was,
activity and ambience around. All the great
it
people,
was
great
very,
scholars and literary masters, legends around. Yeah.
so,
Your
so
your
they used to,
grandfather had this typical turban. That is that Peshawar. What would you call that turban? There are turbans named
kulla,
on
kulla, kulla,
local
kulla पहनते थे, kulla,
Tura. हाँ.
yeah, used to wear
What is
kulla,
known as? What is that known as?
Kulla.
kulla,
Kulla.
kulla,
But
kulla,
वो बहुत
yeah.
जबरदस्त पर्सनालिटी है उनकी ना. I've seen
बहुत बहुत जबरदस्त
slim भी
personality.
है,
I
body
remember
fit है. Yeah.
when he used to in Delhi, when he used to go to Camp College to teach, he got a job after all that. So I sometimes used to tell him कि आप बहुत handsome लग रहे हैं, and he used to laugh at me.
Okay.
So,
And
but
I mean, just when the partition happened, first of all, I'd like to say, let's come down to your grandfather. And first of all, I want to know, when the partition happened, actually, Azad Sahib came out of this place, and father also, the family shifted to this place. It was a tormentation across the partition had destroyed complete Indian masses in Bengal, in Punjab, in all parts of the country, UP, and every place. And what effect did it had on the psyche of your grandfather and father? Partition.
see, partition in the sense, of course, coming to this side became quite a bit of problem, but somehow we managed. Uh, I can even tell you how it happened. Actually, you see what happened that in Rawalpindi, maybe पूरा पाकिस्तान में ऐसा होगा. They were allotting the houses where Hindus were staying to the Mohammedans who were coming from this side to that side.
Okay.
So my grandfather, when he was already staying in a house, and one day there was a ghanti baji, call bell knock hua, so he opened the door, and one gentleman, I think Anwar was his name, I'm not sure. And by the time my grandfather opened the door, he saw his nameplate. So when my grandfather came and greeted him, he said, "I'm very sorry." बहुत माफी मांगी. He said, "मुझे नहीं मालूम था कि आप यहाँ रह रहे हैं, पर ये घर मुझे अलॉट हुआ है, पर मैं नहीं आऊंगा, मैं अपनी अलॉटमेंट कैंसिल करवा दूंगा." So my grandmother said, "No need, don't cancel your allotment. I will give me just 2 days time. I will vacate this house." And within these 2 days, the vice principal of Gordon College, one Dr. Mr. Cummings, he offered my grandfather to that we can shift in the Gordon College and we can stay there. So my grandfather wrote to him, to this gentleman, कि मैं घर खाली कर रहा हूँ, आप आ जाइए, हम Gordon College में आ गए. Gordon College, now there was a problem how to come to Delhi. Although they didn't want to come, my grandfather did not want to come at all, but there was no way out. We had to come. So, there, as it happened, God is kind. One of the army captains, Captain Abdul Majid, my father, till the end, he said, "I wish I could thank him personally again." He visited this Gordon College, and seeing my grandfather, he said, "कि आपका कलाम पढ़ा है और मैं आपका मद्दाह हूँ. I'll help you." He and his lieutenant, I think Lieutenant Qureshi was his name, they helped us in their truck to reach the refugee camp or DAV college in Lahore. And from there, they helped us to reach up to Jalandhar. And I don't remember which sector. We traveled by train also. That was a horrible experience. The train was, full like sardines.
Full.
Train. But I'm not remembering whether it was from Lahore to Jalandhar or which sector, because I was very small. I was just 3.5.
You were born in Rawalpindi. You were born in
Rawalpindi, yeah. Rawalpindi. I was born in 44. So but vague memory I have, my grandfather pushed us through the window me and my sister. My grandmother was a bit stout, so she managed to come through the door, and my grandfather sat up on the train. So he was telling us कि जब कोई वायर आती थी या कोई ब्रिज आता था, so आगे वाले लोग शोर मचाते थे, होशियार, and they would all bend down. Then they would say होशियार, that's how the train moved. तो मैं जलंधर तो पहुंच गए. अब जलंधर से दिल्ली कैसे आया जाए? जलंधर में भी हमारी नारे समाज, अगेन वी वर लकी, गॉड वाज काइंड, उससे फरिश्ता भेज दिया, एक gentleman by the name प्यारे लाल. He came basically by Arya Samaj. He came to Arya Samaj. We were staying there. Saw my grandfather, same thing. मैं आपका फैन हूँ, मैं आपके बहुत कलाम पढ़ा है, मेरे घर में कमरा खाली है, आप प्लीज वहां आ जाइए. For more than 2 months we stayed in his house, and my grandfather wrote a poem also thanking him like that. But Jalandhar, 2 things bad happened. My grandfather lost his purse. तो चलो ठीक था, he lost one of his ब्याज, जिसमें जो उनकी नज़में थी वो भी छपी नहीं थी. So that was a big loss for him. Then it was such a turmoil. My grandfather, while he was in Rawalpindi, there was a rumor that Lahore mein all the journalists have been killed, they have been slaughtered. And luckily or unluckily, my father was working with Jai Hind as a journalist only. So my grandfather was petrified. Kya ho gaya? There's no news from my father. So he wrote to his friends ki jaake pata karo kya hua. Then one Mr. Hasrat, I think, he wrote back to my grandfather कि वहाँ रामनगर में जाना बहुत मुश्किल है, मगर फिर भी मैं गया हूँ, मगर जगन का घर लॉक था, कोई इंसान आसपास नहीं दिख रहा और मुझे कुछ नहीं पता क्या होगा.
Uncertain.
This is a terrible news. But my father says he had made some announcement through the radio saying that he's fine, which announcement never reached my grandfather. So my grandfather requested Hafiz Saab. Hafiz Saab made the announcements कि जहां भी आजाद हो अपने खैरियत की खबर भेजे. तो अगेन माय फादर sent the ये न्यूज अपनी रेडियो के थ्रू, which again one of my grandfather's friend heard and told my grandfather that Azad is fine and he's reached Delhi. He reached Delhi before us. 9th September he was in Lahore. 10th September he was this side of the border. But we came later, sometime in December we came. So that's how things were. So
it was a situation. I mean, partition. There are a number of stories and books have been written over it, and certainly literature as sensitive as Jagan Nath Azad and his father might have had the entire this insight and reflection of this entire horrendous tragedy which has happened in our subcontinent.
My father, in fact, went back after 2 weeks.
Okay.
To get his books and all. But I think his house was burnt and the books and all he couldn't get. So he went back after 2 weeks. He did not want to come back. He wanted to stay in Lahore only.
So let's stop at the migration, and now let's come back to Jammu. Yes. Let's come back to Poonam ji, and let's talk about that's how my program goes, and it goes here and there and there and there. लोग कहते हैं यार 47 के बाद सीधे फिर 82 पे 80 पे कैसे आ गए, but मैं ऐसे ही करता हूँ प्रोग्राम में, थोड़ा इंटरेस्ट बना रहता है. So now let's go to the Jammu, and your father, after his superannuation, had become a professor and of the Urdu department, and he was a very, very name. I remember in Jammu he was a very big name, and everybody respected him a lot. And Poonam ji had already studied; she was studying there English literature in the Jammu University. Let's know about something about his Jammu days, Azad sir. Poonam ji, please, will you like to elucidate? Before you come, I would like to. There's a guest here, a very senior bureaucrat of the government of Jammu and Kashmir, an IAS officer, Pratipal Singh Betab ji is here, and he is a great poet, great Urdu poet. I would like to bring him make him join the stream, and he has something to say. Let's first of all know what he wants to tell you guys. Betab Saab, you are welcome to the conversation show. You're welcome into the Shitala conversation show.
I'm doing hard. So.
Your sound is not coming. Your sound is not coming. There's some situation there, I think. There's a situation with the sound, I think. He could be able to rectify the sound. We'll be talking to Betab Saab, what he wants to say to you guys.
Am I clear now? Azad?
Is he audible to you, Poonam ji, Mukta ji?
Distinctly.
No,
Okay.
not
Okay.
clear.
Not very clear. Not very clear. Yes, you can take a minute or so, then we can join. In the meantime, let's just see if he's able to do that.
Hello.
Hello. Sound is very little. थोड़ी सी आ रही है. अब वॉल्यूम बढ़ा दीजिए सर. Now it's echoing. Anyway.
Is it clear now?
Not much.
Do you have this headphone with you? If there's a headphone, kindly give it to him. Probably, maybe. In the meantime, we'll just continue till Betab Saab joins again. Poonam ji, let us begin with once the line is connected, then we'll go back to Betab Saab because he's a guest in today's conversation and he wants to say something. We must respect that and we must go back to him. But before that, let's begin your other story of Jammu as an academician, as a professor in Jammu University.
Jugal ji, Papa joined the Jammu University as a professor and head of department in the year 1979.
Okay.
And he was given this assignment. He was very close to Sheikh Abdullah Sahab. And before he retired from Srinagar, he went to pay his respects to him and he went to tell him that he would be retiring very soon from his job as the Deputy Principal Information Officer. So Sheikh Sahab was a little disappointed and he said, "Aap jana kyun chahte hain?" So he said, "Kyunki main retire ho raha hu." He says, "Arey retire to aap ho jayenge." But after that, he was given 1 year's extension to continue with his services to the state. And during this extension period, Sheikh Sahab had told him कि हम आपको इस स्टेट में जाने नहीं देंगे. So my father said, मैं कुछ समझा नहीं. He said, आप वक्त आने पर आप समझ जाएंगे. And within a passage of about 6 months, he was offered this post as a head and as professor and head of the Urdu department in the University of Jammu. He took charge over here and gradually he set a very good foothold over here. He has been guide and he has the privilege of having so many PhD students, so many students doing PhD under him. He took the Urdu department to such great heights that during 1988, he was awarded honoris causa, and he was given the honor of being Professor Emeritus. Emeritus is a very great honor given to a literature, and yes, it is for life. He had a full section to himself. He had a room to himself, a full-fledged staff to himself, and he was under no obligation to have any timings or any other, commitment. He was totally committed to that. Then he used to conduct so many mushairas while he was here. He basically, he was bind up. He had this time constraint while he was working in Srinagar. And when he came to Jammu, he was a free person, Azad in the true sense of the word.
He was truly Azad, liberated, emancipated.
There was no commitment of a job. Okay. He used to do work according to his style, according to his own. He had a passion for, everybody knows, the world knows his passion for books. And he was, yes, voracious reader, and he never used to like people who would not respect books. Books was his desk. Basically, was a place of worship for him. Not only for him, for us also. We respected his.
There's a great quote on books that George Bernard says. Fools are those who lend books, and greater fools are those who return them back.
Very true. Papa was very possessive and very protective about his books. I'll give you a small instance. It's a little offline, but I would like to share with our esteemed viewers. My father was, holding a very big library in his house here in Gandhinagar. And he was, as everybody knows, he was very possessive about his books. He used to hand over books to people who would come as complimentary to read them and to enjoy and to learn from them. And during his last days, I may sound a little, but I'd like to share. During his last days, he was in the ICU, and he beckoned my mother to come and close to him. She went and she put her ear close to his this thing, and she said, "Hanji boliye." He said, "Vimla, meri kitabein." He said, she said, मुझे मालूम है आपकी किताबें, मेरे पास हैं आपकी किताबें. He said, मेरी किताबों का क्या होगा? She picked up, she just held his hand and she, put it on her head and she said, आपकी किताबें मेरे सर आंखों पर, मेरे सर माथे पर आपकी किताबें मैं सही जगह पे पहुंचाऊंगी. And will you believe it? She committed this to him. And she kept up her word. She herself was paralytic after his death. She was bedridden totally. But with the effort that she made it a point to give all his, not all, but maximum of his books to places where they would be valued. She gave 40,000 books to a library in Leh. It was a new coming up library in Leh. And those people requested us for a few books. They said they were going to open an Azad section on him. And she said, मैं ज़रूर किताबें donate करूँगी. She donated 40,000 books for the Azad section there. They appreciated this gesture so much. Then she donated his books to Kashmir University. Kashmir University also has a separate section in Papa's name. Till today, students...
I've heard that. I never visited that, of course, but I've heard that. It's a very
students
precious
are making full use of
Kashmir library.
Yes. She committed this to him. She said कि मैं आपकी एक भी किताब ज़ाया नहीं होने दूंगी, and I will see to it कि आपकी किताबें सही जगह पे. We had a lot of mushairas in Jammu. Jammu later on when he soared high because he had a lot of time, and when he was on his own, he soared very high. He used to invite a lot of his personal friends, people of intellect, people of his level, and I can name a few. I have been associated with them.
Literary stature, yeah.
Yes, literary stature. I know Sardar Jafri Sahab.
Sardar Jafri.
Yes. He was a household name with us. He used to come and stay in our house in Srinagar, in Jammu, and his wife was like they were like family to us. He even attended my wedding in Delhi, and then there were so many other people who used to come and stay with us. Then mushairas also, he used to conduct the mushairas, he used to organize the mushairas, he used to conduct the mushairas and seminars.
He had a very human heart, because Avatar Motaji told me that when he was in banking position, some position in bank, and suddenly there was a migrant person who was uprooted after 1990. Azad Sahab was carrying along with him that person. He was a Kashmiri, and he requested Avatar Mota Sahab that there is some situation, I don't know, he was in need of something, some fund, I don't know, there was certain things which were there. Yeah. So he took him along, and Avatar Motaji then saw that this is a man who met him on the street, and he had no connection with him. See the level of compassion that Azad Sahab had in his heart for everyone, fellow human.
He was very soft-hearted. I'll narrate a small incident regarding this only. Papa was in Srinagar, and he was a very frequent visitor to Doordarshan. So once when he went there for some kind of a recording or for some kind of work over there, he got to know that the then director of Doordarshan, I still remember him, he was Mr. S.P. Narayan Kiran. He had... his house was burnt overnight. He had his house was reduced to ashes, and he had lost everything. So Papa asked Mr. Farooq Naski Sahab, "ये कैसे हुआ?" Yes, he said कि भाई घर जल गया उनका, और वो तो अब बेघर हो गए हैं, लेकिन हमने उनको स्टेट गेस्ट हाउस में शिफ्ट कर दिया है. So Papa was in a very little pensive mood, and this is narrated by Farooq Sahab himself only. Though Papa, whatever charity he did, he never mentioned it even once to his family also. It is after his death also, so many people came and told us कि आजाद साहब ने हमारे लिए ये किया था, हमारे बच्चे की एडमिशन कहाँ कराई थी.
That is the people in those times, they never counted their charities, they never told about their charities. They felt that if we tell about charities, there is something.
Absolutely not. अच्छा, then he said कि आजाद साहब थोड़े गंभीर हो गए, सीरियस हो गए, और उन्होंने 2 मिनट के बाद मेरे हाथ में एक लिफाफा थमाया. So नास्की साहब said कि I asked him इसमें क्या है. He said भाई ये किरण तक पहुंचा देना. So then he said कि किरण तक, अच्छा किरण तक पहुंचाने के बाद इसमें है क्या? Later on they got to know that Papa had written a check.
Mehtab Sahab is joined again us. Let us see if Mehtab Sahab will be able to, we will be able to hear him audible. Hello, Mehtab Sahab.
Am I clear?
Yes, now you're clear. In this posture, you're very clear. Welcome to our Shidalath Conversations 87th historic show, sir. It's a great privilege to have you with us. You have come with some special message to Poonam ji and Mukta ji, telling something about the Azad Sahab. Kindly elucidate.
I joined my service, administrative service, in the year 1977, and I had so many mushairas in Doordarshan Srinagar, University of Srinagar, Kashmir, and so many other platforms with Azad Sahab. I have a very long association with Azad Sahab in Gandhinagar, Jammu also. I was staying in 9C government quarter, whereas Azad Sahab was staying in 25A. We had so many programs jointly in Jammu University also, Radio Kashmir Jammu also, Doordarshan Jammu also. And I remember we had musharas in Bombay, All India Radio Bombay, in Akashvani Theatre in 1985. I was a very junior poet then. I was a newcomer in this field. And
Poet is a poet. Poet is a poet. Poet is a poet. Mehtab Sahab, junior or seniority doesn't come in. A creative mind. It's not an administrative service.
Azad Sahab was a veteran poet, but he always treated us equally. About Azad Sahab, I want to say one thing. He was a great Urdu writer. He was a great Urdu scholar also. He had great works so far as the life and literature of Dr. Iqbal is concerned.
Dr. Iqbal.
It was a great job. It was a great job that after 1947, when the conditions were not so favorable for this work, but he continued his work on the life and literature of Dr. Iqbal in India.
Dr. Iqbal.
He was opposed also for this thing, but he never cared about anything, and for whole of his life, he remained with this work, the life, every aspect of the life and every aspect of the literature of Iqbal. And
he was an authority. He is considered to be authority on Iqbal. Authority in Iqbal.
He was the greatest scholar on the life and literature, every aspect of life and literature of Dr. Iqbal. Apart from that, he was a great poet like his father, Tilok Mehroom.
Mehroom Sahab.
Tilok Mehroom was a great poet. Jagan Nath Azad was also a great poet. And I had very long association in Gandhinagar, Jammu also. We were neighbors and we had so many evenings either in Azad Sahab's house or in my house. And now he is not with us, but his remembrances, I have a picture also with me, if it is visible.
Yes,
sometime 25 years ago. And I'm very thankful for you people to invite me in this program. If anything is there to be asked from me, I'm here with you.
Thank you very much, Mehtab Sahab. I still remember one of your ghazals, रेत है और बेकरानी है. That you have written, na? रेत है और बेकरानी है. और जिंदगी की क्या कहानी है. I mean that great poetry can only be written by an associate of Azad, and you are yourself a very, very, very eminent poet and literature, and you are a bureaucrat. Thank you very much. You came. Yeah.
This ghazal of mine is included in the syllabus of 9th, 10th classes in Jammu Kashmir.
So wonderful. So wonderful. It's great pleasure that you came, and certainly we'll see that in near future that we'll have a conversation and we'll just talk to you. Thank you very much. Pleasure.
I'll be always at your disposal. I'll be always there.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you.
My pleasure. Yes, Poonamji, that was Behtab Saab, such a wonderful, I mean, I even quoted as one of his couplet. He's also himself a very good poet, a wonderful poet. He writes wonderful poetry. And Poonamji, just sum up, and then we'll come back to other areas. But first of all, we want to know about the Jammu. Yes, you were talking about Jammu.
Yes,
Who are the
Jammu.
people who used to come into their mushairas? Who are the prominent people?
Jugalji, Papa's close associates and people with whom he was in very good terms, very close terms. I would like to name a few people. They were in his literary life. They were Mr. Bashir Badr, Mahmood Saidi, Nida Fazli, Shahryar. Shahryar used to come and stay in our house very frequently. And in his literary circles, I mean, I would like to mention another aspect of his personality, where while he was posted in Srinagar, I have not met these people. I just have an idea of their stature. He was very cordial with Mr. P.N. Haksar, T.N. Kaul, then
Ambassador T.N. Kaul.
Yes, Mr. Fotedar. Then there was one Mr. D.N. Kaul. He was an IGP in the police department. He used to visit my father very frequently.
And they were all literate people. They were all literate and very elevated personalities. Naturally, Azad Saab had relations. I have even shown the photograph. Before we move forward, Poonamji, Muktaji, I'll just come back to Muktaji, then back to you, Poonamji. And before that, I would like to show a bit of a photo reel of Azad Saab. तो उसके बाद थोड़ा उस पर भी चर्चा करेंगे. We'll talk about that as well. Yeah. Poonamji, you are very fortunate to be born to such a great man. And would you please summarize about these photographs? Tell us something about. There are family photographs as well. Yeah.
Muktaji will be able to tell them better.
Poonamji के बाद फिर वापस आएंगे. वापस आएंगे. Conversation है, बातचीत चलती रहेगी. Yeah.
जो family वाली है वो I think it was taken in 61 by my elder sister because she is not in that picture. Left side was my grandmother. I think I wrote. Then my grandfather. Actually, picture is not there now in front of me. It should be in my book. So Poonam is very small over there. Poonam, we have the family one. Poonam, the family one.
Yes. We are all there. Both the sisters, grandmother,
the elder sister. We all are there except for the elder sister. वो नहीं है उसमें बाकी हम
is the youngest child there. Youngest child.
Poonam is the youngest child.
And then you have there's a photograph of your marriage, probably Muktaji. Your marriage, probably that was.
Yes, that's my grandfather having that milni ceremony. वो मिलने करते हैं. The boy's father or grandfather and my father or my grandfather. So my grandfather वो मिलने कर रहे हैं मेरे father-in-law के साथ.
And in your marriage, this Vice President of India, he had also come and participated.
He had come. There was both protocol था. पहले सारी ICID सारा check किया. Even the Qatari they checked and all.
President of India, Vice President of India. The small personality.
Incidentally, when my grandfather passed away, his was the first letter of condolence that reached our house. The Vice President's letter of condolence. Yes.
And there is a photograph of Indira Gandhi ji के साथ भी है. वो खड़े वहाँ पे बैठे एक जगह है, एक जगह कहीं महफिल.
That is taken in Srinagar. That is in the Circuit House of Srinagar. He is a part of a press conference there. Mrs. Gandhi had come to Srinagar. This photograph is of the year 1977. Mrs.
77.
Gandhi had, yes, 77. Mrs. Gandhi was there
Post-emergency period. Yeah.
Can I add something? I think this time only when she met him, he was about to introduce himself. Then she tells him, "Aapa naam hi kafi hai."
Yes.
Really,
Indira
nice.
Gandhi told him, "Aapa naam hi kafi hai."
Indira ji was also she was witty lady, very intelligent lady. And there is one photograph with Jail Singh, हमारे President of India, यानी Jail Singh साहब. उनके साथ तो 2-3 photographs हैं.
Yes. Jail Singh साहब को, I think he had gone to present his book, one of his books which he had written. तो उनको वो present करने गए थे. This is taken in Delhi. I don't remember the year, but ये दिल्ली की ली हुई photograph. And then there are photographs of Ghalib Academy. Most of the functions, most of the books which he had published were released by Ghalib Academy. There you can see Mr. Khali Kanjum and other people, members of the board there. And his books, mainly, so many of them have been awarded. So the award functions also were generally held in Ghalib Academy in Delhi.
No, I think that picture is of his 75th birthday, which Anjuman Tarakki had organized a nice function. And on that function, a book by Dr. Khali Kanjum, Jagan Nath Azad, Hayat or something. I don't have that book. I sent it to Aligarh University. That book was released by Hakim Hamid Saab, जो हमदर्द दवाखाना के ओनर थे. That book was released that day, and it was on my father's 75th birthday. That was the picture of Dr. Khali Kanjum and my father.
Mukta ji, I mean, slightly let's come back to the literature. You have been very fortunate that you have been able to, I heard that you learned your Urdu after your superannuation to translate your father's work. And I think this is something very dichotomy and tragic, that a great personality like Jagan Nath Azad, he wrote in a script which was alien to us all. I have not read that script. I am a very ferocious reader of Urdu poetry. I have read all the poetries, but all in Devanagari. I don't know Naxali. So you did a very yeoman's service. You translated it into the Hindi. That is something which was needed, because a personality of that stature, literature of that stature, his poetry, his books, his travelogues, they didn't have an access to the common reader of Indian leader, who by per se are raised, they're taught in Hindi and Devanagari especially. So you did a yeoman. Tell us something about the books you did, and let's begin with that. Yeah.
See, to start with, I was very keen to learn Urdu
because कवर देखेंगे बहुत प्यारे कवर है उनके, जो आपने कवर की चॉइस बहुत प्यारी बनाई है, जितने भी आपने हिंदी में अनुवाद.
Thank you. जो main aim was to start with, I was very keen to read the poems he wrote about my mother after her death. I was very keen to read those. तो वो पढ़नी थी, और एक और किताब पढ़नी थी जो अब हिंदी में हो गई है, प्रूफ कोई पढ़ रहा है, हयात महरूम, which is the life story of my grandfather, the day he was born till the day 1 month after his death also. He's described in there. तो ये पढ़ना था. तो my father had, during his lifetime, I had asked him कि मैं उर्दू सीखूंगी, तो he told me, can you get in touch with Shamim Apni साहब, he will guide you. तो रिटायरमेंट के भी 4-5 साल के बाद निकल गए. I thought मैं नहीं पढ़ सकूंगी. So one day I called him up. He said, आप डॉक्टर अब्दुल रशीद से बात कीजिए, कॉरेस्पॉन्डेंस कोर्स वो आपको गाइड करेंगे. डॉक्टर अब्दुल रशीद के पास गई, उन्होंने सब कुछ कर दिया, बट लेटर ही टोल्ड मी कि मुझे लगता था आप नहीं पढ़ सकेंगे, पर आपने पढ़ लिया है. And you know, the thing is that the moment I started reading, he told me, आप इनका काम हिंदी में कीजिए. I said, Dr. Rashid, अभी तो मैंने पढ़ना भी नहीं शुरू किया, मैं कैसे करूं? He said, I'll help you. I'm really grateful to him. It was his inspiration that I started doing this work in Hindi. And his elder brother, Abdul Mughni Sahab, he was not even keep a good help, but he helped me in all my books. उन्होंने मेरे स्पेलिंग्स देखने, मेरी ग्रामर तो खैर आई टू कॉपी जस्ट उर्दू से हिंदी करनी थी, पर एक वर्ड का मीनिंग जो लिखा उन्होंने, they both of brothers, they helped me a lot, and that inspired me to do this. And then I wanted the family also. अभी मुझे पता है मेरी फैमिली में my daughters, my grandchildren, they all say कि नानी इसको इंग्लिश में करो तो पढ़ेंगे. अब for me, आई एम मोर कंफर्टेबल विद हिंदी देन इंग्लिश। तो ऐसे चलो तुम मेरी किताबें रख लेना, कभी तो पढ़ोगे, जैसे मैंने उर्दू की सीखी एट दिस लेट एज, तुम भी कभी पढ़ना। सो दैट वाज द थिंग आई वांटेड टू रीड। सी माय फादर रोट वेरी नाइस 4-5 पोएम्स, यू नो, शोकगीत जिसे हमें कहना चाहिए हिंदी में, एलजी सम आई थिंक वी से। सो वो मैंने थी, आई वांटेड टू रीड दोस, आई वाज वेरी इमोशनल दैट टाइम। सो वो पढ़ने थे, और ये दादाजी की किताब पढ़नी थी। आई एम स्टिल वर्किंग,
दादाजी,
लेट मी सी।
आपके दादाजी ने बच्चों पे भी किताब लिखी है, चिल्ड्रन पे भी है?
मेरे दादाजी ने बच्चों पे इतनी पोइट्री की है कि somebody
नो,
wrote कि अगर वो
द बुक व्हिच वेंट टू द प्राइम मिनिस्टर्स ऑफिस और प्राइम मिनिस्टर ने उनको सराहा, समथिंग लाइक दैट।
ये दो किताबें, ये है बहारे तिफली, ये है बच्चों की
महारे
दुनिया।
तितली।
बहारे
Oh,
तिफली,
that's beautiful. Title is
बच्चों
beautiful
की
and the
दुनिया,
cover is
ये
also
बच्चों
good.
की, ये मैंने हिंदी में की है। तो ये somebody wrote कि अगर वो और काम ना भी करते ना, तो इस्माइल मेट्री के बाद इन्हीं का नाम आता कि बच्चों के लिए, बच्चों के शायर कहलाए जाते हैं। तो ये दोनों किताबें फादर और ग्रैंडफादर नेहरू जी के पास लेके उनको देने। तो नेहरू जी ने बड़े इज्जत से उनको बिठाया अपने कमरे में, और बड़े ध्यान से 10-15 मिनट किताबें देख ली। जब किताबें देख ली तो वो कहने लगे कि किताबों का ये जो है प्रिंट तो ठीक है, मगर ये जो आपने पेश लफ्ज जो है ये बहुत छोटा है, ये बड़ा होना चाहिए। तो दादाजी ने बोला ये तो मैंने सारा जगन को बोल दिया था, ये उसी ने देखा है। तो फादर कहने लगे कि ये, क्योंकि ये जो फॉरवर्ड होता है ये तो टीचर्स पढ़ते हैं, वो पढ़ लेंगे, और बच्चे तो पोएम्स पढ़ेंगे। तो नेहरू जी ने कहा कि नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है, ये बच्चों के, कई बच्चे भी पढ़ना चाहेंगे फॉरवर्ड, तो ये बड़ा होना चाहिए। उसके बाद उन्होंने किताबें उनको प्रेजेंट की, और फिर पंडित नेहरू उनको दरवाजे तक छोड़ने आए। उन्होंने, दादाजी ने उनको ये भी बोला कि नहीं आप तकलीफ मत कीजिए, और वो कहते हैं नहीं, जरूर उनको अपने कमरे के चेम्बर के दरवाजे तक उनको आके उन्होंने उनको अलविदा कहा, बाय बाय कहा। तो बहुत अच्छे से इज्जत से उन्होंने रखा उनको।
And
तो नेहरू जी के,
I heard there were lot many people who used to visit the contemporaries of your grandfather and your father. There are lot many people in the literary circles, very, very prominent faces in the literary circles, the great literateurs, great poets of Indian subcontinent, Indian poets, who used to visit and who used to have batak and has to conversation with your father and grandfather. Tell something about, if you know any of those episodes or records.
see, as far as I remember, it was फिराक गोरखपुरी साहब,
फिराक गोरखपुरी, उनका कुछ बताइए ना। Tell us some anecdote if you remember.
You know, there are 4 of them which are not sahab for me, they are uncles for me. Firak uncle,
you know, yeah.
फिर Majru uncle, Sahir uncle, Katil uncle. These 4 are uncles for us, not because they were always with us. फिराक अंकल का तो ये था कि वो हमारे घर रहते थे हमेशा आकर, जब भी दिल्ली आते थे। और एज पूनम सेड कि पापा को वो मार्कशीट दिखाने में डर लगता था, सेम वाज द पोजीशन माइन। तो एक बार रिपोर्ट कार्ड मिला तो सब जगह सेटिस्फैक्ट्री था, कहीं गुड एक्सीलेंट नहीं था। तो फिराक साहब से पापा बात कर रहे थे उनके साथ, ये अच्छा मौका है उनको रिपोर्ट कार्ड दिखाने का। रिपोर्ट कार्ड लेके रिपोर्ट कार्ड देखा तो ही ग्रम्बल, ये सब सेटिस्फैक्ट्री, कहीं गुड नहीं, कुछ नहीं। तो फिराक साहब की तरफ देखा, फिराक अंकल ने देख के कहते हैं आजाद, ये आजकल ना सेटिस्फैक्ट्री भी बहुत बड़ी चीज है। कहते हैं अच्छा आप कहते हैं? कहते हैं जी हाँ। तो मेरा वो साइन हो गया। और फिराक अंकल के साथ एक बहुत बड़ा हादसा हमारे घर में हुआ। कुलबंगस में रह रहे थे, सिगरेट बहुत पीते थे, सिगरेट पीते पीते सो गए। सर्दियों के दिन थे, रजाई में आग लगनी शुरू हो गई, धीरे धीरे आग इतनी सुलगी कि वो सारा घर धुआं धुआं। फिर ये उठे, बचाओ बचाओ। फिर सब दादाजी, पापा, और ऊपर की मंजिल में सहर हुशारपुरी साहब भी रहते थे, सारा घर इकट्ठा हो गया। खैर लकीली कुछ हादसा नहीं हुआ, बचाव हो गया। और जहाँ कतील अंकल का सवाल है, वो हमारे घर कुलबंगस पे जब भी आते थे, पाकिस्तान से रहते थे, तो उन्होंने एक नज्म छपे थे बच्चों के किसी मैगजीन में, जादू का डिब्बा। दूर देश से अब्बा आए, जादू का एक डिब्बा लाए, डिब्बे का एक पेज घुमाया, उसने ये पैगाम सुनाया, और रेडियो की थी। तो मैं और मेरी बहन, मैं 8 साल की होंगी, वो 10 साल की, अंकल ये सुनाइए। वो हमें टालते गए, कभी कहीं टाइम नहीं है, कभी वक्त नहीं है, कभी जाना है। तो एक दिन कहते हैं कि वो ना मुझे याद नहीं है। अच्छा आपको याद नहीं है? हमारे पास उसकी कटिंग पड़ी हुई थी, हम कटिंग लेके आ गए, हमने कहा आप सुनाइए, खैर वी वर द ऑडियंस, और उन्होंने हमें सुनाई। तो फिर फादर ने बोला कि तुम इनको बहुत परेशान कर रहे हो। तो और साहिर साहब के साथ, साहिर
साहिर
साहब, अच्छा
लुधियानवी,
ये
यस वी ऑल वांट टू, वी डाई टू हियर अबाउट साहिर साहब। साहिर साहब एक बहुत, मैं उनका बहुत एहतराम करता हूँ। He was a man
ये
who was, whose in and out was the same. Whose in and out was
ये
the same. He was
ये
not a, he
कतील
was not a
अंकल,
diabolic person. He was a humanist, a great humanist and a great poet. Yeah.
टू गुड टू गुड। ये
साहिर
कतील
साहब का
अंकल की
बताइए,
फोटो,
दिखाइए फोटोग्राफ। यस यस, दैट्स सो
ये
वंडरफुल।
कतील अंकल की फोटो उन्होंने मेरे को साइन करके दी थी मुक्ता के लिए, और ये साहिर अंकल की अपनी भतीजी मुक्ता के नाम, ये लिखा
अरे
उन्होंने अपनी भतीजी मुक्ता के नाम, और अपना
wonderful.
साइन किया है। ये दिस इज माय प्राइम पोजेशन, बोथ दिस फोटोग्राफ्स। तो साहिर अंकल के साथ तो इतना था कि फादर के बहुत अच्छे ताल्लुकात थे। और मैं, चांस की बात है कि जब ये पार्टीशन के बाद अशमल सैनी साहब के घर में फादर रह रहे थे, तो नौकरी की तलाश में क्या, बेकार थे, तो कनॉट प्लेस के साथ उनका घर था, पास ही था, तो कनॉट प्लेस में घूमते थे, तो उनको बाय चांस साहिर अंकल मिल गए, और साथ थे त्रिपाठी साहब मिल गए। तो धीरे धीरे मिलते मिलते इतना हो गया कि ये चाय की दुकान पे बैठ के इकट्ठे चाय पीते थे, और आपस में बातें करने लगे, दोस्ती हो गई। इनकी दोस्ती तो एक्चुअली पार्टीशन के बाद हुई, साहिर अंकल की और पापा की। और
Okay.
उसके बाद भी दोनों को में जो मकान मिले पुलबंगश में, वो भी पुलबंगश में रहते थे, हम भी पुलबंगश में रहते थे। अब क्या हुआ कि साहिर अंकल को तो बॉम्बे से ऑफर आ गई, शायद एस डी बर्मन साहब की थी या किसी की थी, 750 रुपया महीना
Okay.
बॉम्बे जाने के लिए, वहां पर
That's so
लिरिक्स
wonderful.
लिखने के लिए। तो उन्होंने फादर से बोला कि आप भी चलो मेरे साथ, मैं आपको दिलवा दूंगा 750 में। तब उस टाइम फादर की सैलरी थी 650 पर मंथ, यहाँ 750। तो उन्होंने कृष्ण चंद्र से और एक दो दोस्तों से बात करी, वालिद अपने दादाजी से भी, मेरे दादाजी से भी बात करी, सबने कहा कि 650 तो 750 बॉम्बे के हिसाब से बहुत कम है, मत जाओ, ये नहीं गए। तो साहिर अंकल तो चले गए। फिर जब भी फादर बॉम्बे जाते थे उनके यहाँ रहते थे, और वो उनकी मदर को भी वो मांझी कहते थे, वो बहुत प्यार करती थी वो फादर को भी। तो एक बार वो कहती हैं इनको, फादर को, कि इसको साहिर को बोलो कि शादी कर ले। तो ये कहते हैं कि 40,000 रुपया मिलता है एक फिल्म के गाने लिखने का, 40,000 में शादी में कहाँ गुजारा होएगा, शादी नहीं की। तो फादर कहते हैं इनके घर जब मैं रहता था, रोज शाम को स्कॉच की बोतल खुलती थी, और स्कॉच की बोतल उस टाइम 100 रुपए की होगी, और 100 रुपया बहुत बड़ी चीज थी उन दिनों। तो वो
Okay.
रोज एक बोतल खुलती थी। तो फादर ने इनको बोला कि देखो तुम्हारे यहाँ रोज एक बोतल खुलती है, और हम दोनों मिलके आधी भी नहीं पीते होंगे, बाकी कहाँ जाती है? कहते हैं मुझे नहीं पता अब कौन पी जाता है। ही वॉज नॉट बॉदर्ड, ही वॉज दैट काइंड ऑफ पर्सन, घर की डोमेस्टिक हेल्प पी जाए, कोई पी जाए, ही वॉज नॉट बॉदर्ड। तो एक बार ऐसा हुआ कि इनकी कारवाने वतन दादाजी की किताब छपी, तो फादर ये कॉपी ले, एक जिल्द उसकी ले गए साहिर अंकल के लिए भी। तो जब दोनों शाम को बैठे, ये अपना इनका सेशन लगा, तो वो एकदम कहते हैं भूल गया किताब देना, वो किताब लाके उन्होंने साहिर अंकल को दी।
Poonam ji is disconnected. Poonam ji, kindly connect immediately because you are disconnected. I don't know, शायद उनके वहाँ उसका कोई इशू हुआ होगा, I mean इंटरनेट वगैरह का कोई प्रॉब्लम होगा, but she is disconnected anyway.
तो जब मेरे फादर ने वो किताब दी उनको, साहिर अंकल को, तो उन्होंने उठ के आदाब करके वो किताब ली। तो फादर कहते हैं ये क्या मस्करापन है? तो वो कहते हैं ये तुम्हारी किताब नहीं है, ये महरूम साहब की किताब है, ये इससे ज्यादा एजाज की हकदार है। तो ये था उनका कैरेक्टर। फिर
That
उसके
was a great
बाद अच्छा काफी देर बॉम्बे विजिट नहीं हुई फादर की। आई थिंक 1980 की बात है, जब हमारी पूनम की मदर वो कैंसर की शिकार हो गई, तो फादर उनको ले गए इलाज के लिए। तो वहां भी कोई सेमिनार भी था शायद उर्दू का, तो बाय चांस से दोनों मिले, साहिर अंकल और फादर, ये बड़े अच्छे से मिले। तो फादर ने कहा कि, उन्होंने कहा तुम बहुत मुद्दत के बाद आए हो? उन्होंने कहा हाँ, और मुझे आके तुम्हारे मकान भी देखने हैं, जू के जो तुमने नए मकान लिया। तो साहिर अंकल ने कहा कि हाँ मैं तुम्हें फोन करूंगा। शायद वो बिजी हो गए होंगे, उन्होंने फोन नहीं किया। तो ये बात मेरे फादर को नागवार गुजरी कि साहिर ने मुझे कहा कि मुझे फोन नहीं किया, गलत बात है। वो कहते हैं कि मैंने सोच लिया था कि अब मैं जब इससे मिलूंगा बेरुखी से मिलूंगा, जब बेरुखी वो झूठी होगी, पर मैं इसको बेरुखी दिखाऊंगा अपनी।
that
पर
was the
देखिए,
that was the relationship they had and the honesty
बट
and
एज लक वुड हैव इट, वो मौका ही नहीं आया। 1980 में ही साहिर अंकल चले गए दुनिया से।
he
तो
went
वो
very
फादर को बड़ा इस बात
great
का
poet,
मलाल
great,
रहता, तो
very unique
उनको बहुत
personality.
वेरी
बाकी
यूनिक
सब
पर्सन।
तो बाकी सब ये थोड़ा सा इधर उधर होते थे कि मतलब, लेकिन उनका जो चरित्र था, उनकी पर्सनालिटी, उनका परसेप्शन, कन्विक्शन स्ट्रेट थे, वो बहुत स्ट्रेट। और सबसे बड़े
एग्जैक्टली।
बहुत बहुत ऊंचे शायर थे मेरे ख्याल, बड़े संगीत
जी
के।
जी।
फिल्मों में तो थे ही थे। खैर, ही वाज वेरी पॉपुलर। एंड any other yes, you would like to share? हमें these are the treasures of anecdotes we really want to know.
अब पूनम ने जैसे कहा अली सरदार जाफरी साहब का, वो तो फादर के बहुत ही क्लोज थे वो भी। तो एक बार वो दोनों शायद पाकिस्तानी जा रहे होंगे, पीआईए की ट्रेवल एयरलाइंस थी, तो उन्होंने स्टूड से अल्कोहल मांगी जाफरी अंकल ने। तो उन्होंने कहा कि नहीं, आप तो मोहम्मदन है, तो आपको नहीं मिलेगी। उन्होंने कहा मैं पाकिस्तानी नहीं हूँ, इसे नहीं, पर आपको नहीं मिल सकती, हमारे रूल। तो उन्होंने फादर की तरफ इशारा किया, इनको तो दे दो, इनको तो मिलेगी। कहते हैं इनका नाम क्या है? उन्होंने कहा जगन्नाथ आजाद। कहते हैं अरे, ये तो हमसे ज्यादा पाकिस्तानी है, इनको भी नहीं मिलेगी। नहीं दी।
पाकिस्तानी इनको क्यों कहते थे? बिकॉज उर्दू में लिखते थे तभी।
शायद से उनको पाकिस्तान से इतना प्यार था। पर वो एक बात बताऊं, वो बड़े खुश होते थे ये सुन के।
एक्चुअली उनको जिस पाकिस्तान से प्यार था, मुझे लगता है दैट वाज द अनडिवाइडेड इंडिया।
Yes.
I don't think
अनडिवाइडेड इंडिया।
Jagannath Azad would like today's Pakistan, because he was such a man, sensitive writer, a man of such a high
देखिए,
stature,
मैं
intellectual
आपको
brilliance.
बताती हूँ, वो
आज के
पाकिस्तान के
पाकिस्तान
वली
को कभी पसंद नहीं करते। वो उस पाकिस्तान की बात करते हैं, उस ओल्ड अनडिवाइडेड इंडिया का
Yes.
जो
Yes.
खबरीज उनकी थी बचपन की, आई थिंक दैट वाज
नहीं, पर
ऑल इन हिज
उन
ब्लड
लोगों
एंड
को भी करते हैं, उनको बहुत। देखिए, ये पाकिस्तान के लिए अपने दोस्तों के लिए क्या लिखते हैं, ऐसे है वतन की अब तमन्ना दिल में, जैसे कोई चुभता हुआ कांटा दिल में, कल तक जो मेरी नजर में लहराते थे, अब है वो सब शहर और सहरा दिल में। और उनकी तरफ से लिखते हैं कि अब तक न हमें खा के वतन तूने भुलाया, तुझसे तो कुछ इस तरह के पैगाम भी ना थे। तो मतलब उनको इतना प्यार मिला कि अभी तक वो खा के वतन ने उनको नहीं भुलाया।
This
तो वो
basically, this is a in a way he was shifted from one part of India to another part of India, and all the people
एग्जैक्टली
when they go into the exile, this exile consciousness is there. This happened even the people with the 1990s जो कश्मीर छोड़ के आ गए ना, उनकी पोइट्री में आपको ये दर्द मिलेगा. You'll find the same
बिल्कुल
pains,
वही,
agony,
ये
same pathos.
बिल्कुल वही क्यामत थी जो कश्मीर की हुई है। वो वाली क्यामत, वही वाली क्यामत वो 47 की थी।
कयामत थी वो, it was a कयामत also. I mean, we अभी तक yeah.
माय फादर यूज्ड टू से वो पहली क्यामत थी। दूसरी क्यामत उनकी दूसरी थी, उनके रुदादे इकबाल, वो इकबाल की वो काम कर रहे थे।
Yes.
सैलाब आ गया जम्मू में, तो वो सारी मैन्यूस्क्रिप्ट बह गए, तो वो उसको दूसरी क्यामत कहते थे। तो पहली क्यामत तो उसको कहते थे ये।
What happened? I mean, how did it happen? जम्मू में सैलाब कहाँ पे आया
I'll
था?
tell you. Jugal ji, in 1988, there was a flood over here, and all his books were the whole this was in the old in the new campus. The department had very recently shifted to the new campus, and during the flood, the Tavi overflew and it flooded the department, the university. There was almost 2 to 3 feet of water, and most of his books got flooded. He was totally shattered after that.
University was sunk, or the other parts of Gandhinagar में तो नहीं आया था फ्लड? किस ईयर की बात कर रहे हैं आप?
These were the books which were in the department, and most of his books were damaged. Most of his books were, they could not be salvaged. But he managed. That was very tragic. He was totally heartbroken and he was totally shattered. But it is a national calamity. Nobody could do anything about it. And after that, he picked up the threads, and gradually he was a very strong person, and gradually he picked himself up and accepted the fact that what he has lost could not be regained again.
Retrieved. He moved on in life.
एक्चुअली इकबाल पे काम कर रहे थे, उन्होंने 5 वॉल्यूम्स में किताब बनानी थी, रुदादे इकबाल। वो सारा
रुदादे इकबाल, उसके बाद
वो सारा उनका, ये जो मैंने पिक्चर दिखाई अभी आपको, वो अपनी लाइब्रेरी में खड़े हैं, अपने वो कागज निकाल रहे हैं पानी में से। तो इट वाज वेरी सैड फॉर हिम। ही यूज्ड टू कॉल इट सेकंड दूसरे।
एंड शोस द पिक्चर अगेन।
मैंने अभी दिखाई थी किताब में से ढूंढ के।
Anyway, it doesn't matter.
You can see him literally digging for his books. You can literally see him salvaging his books.
It's loss of complete belongings.
Totally.
Precious.
He was shattered. He was very attached to his books. They were like children to him. We could never show any kind of disrespect or any kind of negligence towards his books. He was very passionate about his books.
It's very faint actually. मैंने पेपर से ली थी.
हाँ, नहीं बहुत दिख रहा है. अरे, great picture.
This one.
He went to USSR, then USSR, and he went to Colombia. He wrote the 2 travelogues.
Yes.
पुष्किन के
सफरनामा they
देश
call
में.
it in उर्दू. शायद
पुष्किन के देश में.
एक जमाने में गालिब के जब होता था तब लिखते थे तो मसनवी लिखते थे. But सफरनामा is the latest word. What I'm saying is that these travelogues, पुष्किन के देश में, कोलंबस के देश में. Tell us something about these 2 travelogues, those wonderful travelogues.
जुगल साहब, ऐसा है कि मैंने ट्रेवलॉग्स पढ़े नहीं है इनके.
Okay.
अब पढ़ूंगी
तो पता
तो
तो
आपके
होगा.
अगले प्रोग्राम में बताऊंगी. मुझे इतना
हाँ.
पता है, ये जो था इनका रशिया का था, मैंने उसमें 1-2 पेजेस ही पढ़े थे. तो वो लिखते हैं कि यहाँ पर किताबों की इतनी अहमियत है कि जैसे हमारे यहाँ पर कभी प्रॉब्लम होती है तो लंबी लंबी लाइनें लग जाती हैं आलू प्याज खरीदने के लिए. वहां पर लंबी लंबी लाइनें लगती हैं किताबों के लिए. लाखों की तादाद में किताबें छपती हैं और लाखों की तादाद में किताबें बिक जाती हैं. ये मैंने जरूर पढ़ा था. ये जो यूएसएसआर का उनका ट्रैवलॉग था,
उनके लिए
पूरा नहीं पढ़
art
सकी थी.
literature is supreme. They respect it the most. This is the precious
Yes.
treasure, national treasure. They salute
जी.
it so much, value it so much. It's unlike here in India, the best possible writers, they die of starvation and they're unattended and many things. That's very dichotomy of our society. And anyway,
Yes.
government कितना करेगी जब तक society में कदर नहीं होगी. Governments can't do anything.
Absolutely.
Society has to rise
Absolutely.
itself. खुद से
Yes.
society में वो strength and resilience चाहिए. Anyway, Mukta ji, tell us about these books also. You want to just have tell us something about these books during the writing process. Did you find any difficulty or you picked up the most easier one of Azad Saab's?
If you ask me, I found it very, very difficult. My first book was बहारे बच्चों की दुनिया. तो जब मैंने ये किताब टाइप करवा ली तो मैंने जैसे बताया अब्दुल मुगदिन साहब को मैंने भेजी. उन्होंने कहा मुझे दिखा देना. तो आई थॉट कि मेरे को तो थपकी मिलेगी कि बहुत अच्छा काम किया, बहुत मेहनत किया. तो जब उन्होंने प्रूफ वापस भेजा तो आई गॉट अ शॉक ऑफ माय लाइफ. एवरी वर्ड he had marked with red. कहीं बिंदी नहीं है, कहीं बिंदी ज्यादा है, कहीं कुछ. I thought कि मैं ये I gave it up. I said मैं नहीं करूंगी काम. Then I told myself नहीं, इसे हार नहीं माननी चाहिए. फिर धीरे धीरे पर अब मैं काफी समझ गई हूँ. मगर फिर भी अब जैसे ये किताब है यादें, इसमें भी मैं देख रही हूँ स्पेलिंग मिस्टेक्स हो गए हैं क्योंकि फिर अकेले बैठ के जब आप प्रूफ पढ़ते हो बहुत मुश्किल होती है.
At this age, I kudos to you. I salute
प्रॉब्लम है
you.
और एक किताब को 6 बार पढ़ना पड़ता है क्योंकि टाइप होती है गलतियां. तो आप इस स्पीड से पढ़ जाते हो कि आपको अपनी गलती दिखती भी नहीं है. अब एक वर्ड है मोहब्बत, जो मैंने 3-4 जगह देखा, उसके स्पेलिंग ही गलत है. वो ऊ की मात्रा लगी है, ओ की मात्रा होनी चाहिए. तो मैंने सब जगह मार्क कर रही हूँ जहां जहां गलती दिख रही है कि अब कभी दोबारा इसका सेकंड अगर मैं एडिशन कराऊं तो मैं जरूर करूंगी.
Typos is a great headache for the author. I mean, you have to go again and again, redraft. Then finally you arrive at the final draft. Yeah.
But I've been lucky, there's one boy who's become like a family, सलमान फैसल उनका नाम है. डॉक्टर रशीद ने मुझे उसको इंट्रोड्यूस कराया था. वो मेरे पास आ जाते थे संडे के संडे 1-2 घंटे दे, क्योंकि जब मैं लिखती हूँ कई वर्ड मुश्किल है मैं छोड़ देती हूँ. फिर वो उनसे हेल्प लेके मैं या व्हाट्सएप में उनको वर्ड भेज देती हूँ, सलमान ये वर्ड क्या है, तो वो मुझे हिंदी में लिख के भेज देते हैं, मीनिंग बता देते हैं. डिक्शनरी बहुत यूज की मैंने. डिक्शनरी तो हालत देखने वाली थी कि एवरी वर्ड आई हैड टू सी द डिक्शनरी इवन इफ आई रीड प्रॉपर्ली. पर मुझे वो देखना पड़ता है कि ठीक से पढ़ा कि नहीं पढ़ा, उसका मीनिंग देखना पड़ता है कि ठीक आ रहा है कि नहीं आ रहा. तो बट आई एम एंजॉयिंग दिस वर्क. आई एम फीलिंग वेरी सेटिस्फाइड एंड आई एम फीलिंग वेरी क्लोज टू माय फादर एंड माय ग्रैंडफादर देन व्हाट आई वाज within during the lifetime.
Well, comparatively, you are higher in age than Poonam, and Poonam was younger in those. But Poonam had seen father, I mean, Kashmir and Jammu.
Yes,
but you had
very
seen your
close.
grandfather. You were fortunate to have association with your grandfather.
Yes. My grandfather actually, he was more of a father, and he was mother and father both to me. I could talk to him, about any problem. Like I told you, if I'm scared of my father. अब छोटे से इंस्टेंस बताती हूँ, बिल्कुल आउट ऑफ दी हो जाएगा. हमारे स्कूल में था कि पीटी के टाइम वी हैड टू वेयर पीटी शूज, और वो मिले हुए थे अपने बॉक्सेस अपने शूज रखने के लिए, चेंज करो. तो मैंने अपने शूज उतार के रखे और वो गुम गए, कोई उठा के ले गया. अब पीटी शू में घर आई तो दादाजी को बताया कि अब ऐसे हो गया. अब मैंने कहा पापा को बताऊंगी तो मुझे डांट पड़ेगी, यू आर सो केयरलेस. I told him बताना नहीं, उनको बताना नहीं. He took me to the market, bought me new pair of shoes. Maybe he told my father. I'm not sure, but मुझे नहीं इल्म होने दिया कि बताया कि that way it was.
Grandfathers are like that. I mean, you can just have a faith in them. Then your
Very
father.
loving.
Fathers are strict.
Very
Especially we had lost our mother. अब जब हम छोटे थे हमें वो लॉन में ले जाते थे, रस्सी ले जाते थे साथ, रस्सी की पीक बना के झूला, वो लकड़ी के तख्ते से बना के उस पर
लकड़ी के
लगा के
तख्ते से बनते थे।
झूला झुलाते थे. I can't forget all that, what all he did for us.
Okay.
मुझे बहुत उन्होंने बहुत प्यार दिया दादाजी ने. एंड ही वाज अ वेरी हम्बल मैन, वेरी हम्बल मैन. अब उनके कमरे मैंने उनको हर काम में हेल्प की. वो जब एग्जामिनेशन के वो कैंप कॉलेज में लेक्चरर थे आफ्टर पार्टीशन, तो उनके जब एग्जामिनेशन पेपर आते थे मैं उनके साथ बैठ के उनको टोटल करवाती थी, मार्क्स का बताती थी, इसमें 0 है 2 है, फिर टोटल चेक करते थे. मैं उनके साथ उनको हेल्प करती थी पार्सल बनाने में, मोहर लगाने में. वो हुक्का पीते थे, मैं हुक्का बनवाने में हेल्प करती थी. वो च्यवनप्राश खाते थे, मैं बैठ के च्यवनप्राश मांगती थी उनसे. और एक बार क्या हुआ, च्यवनप्राश एक बार क्या हुआ,
I mean, that is for vitality. I mean, that's a traditional medicine. All the elders use. I don't know whether आजकल तो मुझे लगता है people don't use it. और उस जमाने में सब लेते थे.
सब लेते थे. अपने कमरे में छोटा सा ताला लगा देते थे. इट्स नॉट बिकॉज से कमरे में कुछ सामान था कि उनके पेपर्स होते थे, एग्जामिनेशन पेपर्स बच्चों के आते हैं.
Mostly papers. They're worried about the papers.
तो
And they had the trunks as well. Trunks भी थे. Trunks.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes. Trunks. Yes, absolutely. Iron trunks, लोहे के बक्से with their name inscribed. I remember we used to travel in trains with those baksas, and I still have a few of them. I mean, they are my legacy. I cannot do away with them. So I have maintained them, and I have, I get them painted off and on, and I keep them as my parents' souvenirs.
Yes. I think it is very unfortunate that we find one of the greatest libraries in Jammu. I mean, their books are live with the people who run them and their friends and others. And while as these libraries are for the people, the scholars, the seekers, the interested people to read. And you guys are very lucky that you have the wealth of books with you. So what is the, I mean, how do you plan to use them for the larger interest of the readers and the admirers of Azad Saab?
Jugal ji, I'd like to. Okay, Didi, aap bolo.
What I've done is, since now, actually tomorrow I'll be 79 years. So I thought कि अभी तो मालूम नहीं कितनी है और है, कभी कोविड है, कभी कुछ है. So I asked my elder sister what to do. Then she told me that according to her, Maulana Azad University is the best library to send these books. तो मैंने उनसे बात करी and they were very happy. So मैंने उनको I nearly sent them nearly. I still have bought few books. क्योंकि मुझे पता है कि अगर स्टार्ट किताबें तो मैं अपनी लाइफ टाइम में नहीं पढ़ सकती. तो about 40 books of my father and about 10-15 books of my grandfather I have given them. But I still have many books with me which I am working on. अभी मैं काम भी कर रही हूँ. तो कुछ डुप्लीकेट भी थी, कुछ नहीं थी, वो मैंने उनको भेज दी है. और एक गलती हो गई, मैंने पूनम से कुछ ब्याज ली थी उनकी, मैंने उनको ब्याज भेज दी थिंकिंग पूनम हैज द फोटोकॉपीज. अब पूनम के पास भी नहीं, कभी अलीगढ़ जाने का मौका हुआ तो मैं वहां जाके उनकी फोटोकॉपी करूंगी, नहीं तो दे टोल्ड मी दे विल प्रिजर्व देम प्रॉपर्ली एंड ऑल दैट. आई होप दे डू, आई एम श्योर दे विल डू. तो मैंने ऐसे किया है. एंड आई एम sorry,
Jugal, I have yes, that's exactly what I'm coming to. I have a small message for people who are watching this program. It is more of an appeal. My father passed away in 2004, and he left behind a library of books, a library of files, manuscripts, and documents which are very rare and very precious. I have basically given a few away and given them to libraries, and but right now, till now, I have 2 almiras which are full of his files, books, and papers which are very precious, but unfortunately I cannot read Urdu. And all these years I have been looking for a person, a suitable person who will guide me and tell me what I should do with these books. I want to send them and make proper use of them. I want to send them to such a place where his legacy will also be maintained. His legacy will be carried on. They should not be wasted.
You can donate and create a separate section in one of the prestigious universities in India, any prestigious universities in India. You can approach them, write a letter to Vice Chancellor, and create a section of Azad Saab's Urdu books. so that at least it will be used there and preserved as well. Yeah.
Jugalji, I have my grandfather's and my father's bayaz. I hope you know what a bayaz is. A bayaz is a collection of the poet's poems, which is very dear to him and which is a very personal, his thoughts. His thoughts are just penned down on it. So I would like them to be preserved. Some of them are dating back to 1941, 1931. The paper has also become dripping. 21. I have, spanning over the years. And I have those, I would like to preserve them. But somehow till today, I have not found anybody who would guide me properly or help me to, do justice to them, because I cannot just give away those books. They are very precious and very rare books.
That's true.
And one thing more, I don't know whether Poonam is aware, in those papers, there are 2 or 3 letters of Allama Iqbal to my grandfather. So we want somebody, since even if I go to Jammu, I can't read handwritten Urdu. I can only read printed matter. So we need somebody who is very sincere, who will not, befool us. We will not know if somebody takes away the papers.
No, you should not. You should not. This is a wealth. This is a national wealth.
Yes.
These books are the national wealth.
I will share a small experience with you. Initially, after Papa's death, we, gave away a few of his books to people who were close to him. And then after some time, we got to know that his writings were published by those people in their name. And people from the university and people from different parts of life came and told us that Fulana ne kitab chhapai hai apne naam se, but with the content, with the thought content, हमें पता है कि ये उनकी ज़बानी नहीं है, ये आजाद साहब की किताब है. I don't want that to happen. I don't want that to happen. That will be
very sad.
That will be highly injustice to my father. I will not let that happen. So I am still looking for a person. I am also aging. I am also growing in age. And my children, what I understand of my father, the next generation will not. So I want somebody, responsible and sincere enough to guide us and tell us where to send these books, so that either they are archived or either they are used in such a manner where they will.
They should be in a proper institution, responsible institution.
Yes,
very premier university where the people value book remains and something like that. You cannot give it to anybody.
But since I am not Urdu knowing, unfortunately, I cannot read Urdu.
I know Urdu, but I can't read the script. Script is not possible.
I don't know the value of each paper, but each paper is so valuable that I cannot just hand over the paper to anybody and everybody. That is my problem.
Mukta ji, would you like to talk about any of his literary works? How do you presume in the contemporary? Because you can't tell me that you don't know about his literature, because you have transliterated his literature and you know him from the childhood. Certainly, there must be some insights which might have reflected up to you. Would you like to tell me or communicate that how did you find his standing in the contemporary? What was the distinctiveness of Azad Saab's poetry across when we look at those contemporary poets around? Azad Saab's and his father's.
See, for both of them, what I have read, what people have written, like Joe Saab has written, Firak Uncle has written, they say in fact, they have written separately. But काफी दोनों के जो ख्यालात मिलते हैं कि इनकी जो शायरी है बहुत साफ, पाकीज़ा, एकदम से मतलब no discrimination between rich and poor, and उनकी ना शायरी में एक पकड़ है बहुत अच्छे से, मतलब बड़ी ऊंची बुलंदी पे है, और मतलब there's no vulgarity, there's nothing of this.
There's a comment by Deepak Budki is also a very, very eminent Urdu writer. He has written a lot of literature. Please contact National Library, Calcutta, and also Rampur Library, UP. I mean, he is suggesting, there are suggestions which come here.
Yes, please. I shall go through them. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay. Yes. And yes, you were saying something. Pure thi, distinctive thi, elevated thi. Or be elevated. There are not many elevated people around, elevated poets around. How distinctive it was there. Style of writing, style of poetry, style of insights. As a daughter, I mean, we cannot describe him. He was a gigantic personality, but just an analysis by a daughter. How would you see her father in comparison to the styles of writings of the contemporary?
See, whatever little I've read, of my father's poetry or my grandfather, they are very emotional, very emotional ones I've read, you know. Like even my grandfather wrote poetry even just before his few years before his death about Sindh. वो सिंध नदी को याद कर रहे हैं, कुर्रम नदी से कह रहे हैं जब तुम सिंध को मिलोगे तो मेरा पैगाम देना. You know, think like that. My father is writing about अपना वतन कि मुझे वतन ने याद किया. मैं, you know, things like that. So whatever little I've read, since I've not read all the books, I find them very emotional poetry from both the angles. And my grandfather's का उनका तो तूफाने गम जो है about his wife and his daughter and all, that is very pathetic and very sad. Sometimes you'll not believe me, when I'm reading, I have to stop because I feel, you know, I feel like crying. I just leave it. I can't read further. Like my father wrote about my mother. अब ना रोएगी तो अपनी बच्चियों को देखकर, और उस मासूम की खातिर में जैसेगी नजर, जो तेरे दामन में आया, मुस्कुराया चल बसा, जिसको ये अंदाज दुनिया का ना भाया चल बसा. If I read the whole this poem, I will cry. I will leave it. Even today, I don't remember my mother. And what my grandfather wrote about his daughter who burnt herself. I'll just little bit of time I will take.
Yes,
he
yes,
says,
please.
he says, शमशान का नजारा दिखाती है ये दुनिया, अफसोस इसे शमशान में खाएंगे पिएंगे, तो मरने पे मजबूर हुई, मर गई जल जल कर, हम जीने पे मजबूर हैं, जल जल के जिए. I don't know, by my luck or whatever I've read only these things. तो बहुत है. And वो जो one thing I wanted to tell you about my book, this गीतों की फुलवारी, you know, this
गीतों की फुलवारी, yes. आपने बाइस्कोप बनाया है ना? It's a beautiful.
मैं बता रही हूँ आपको,
title is cover is beautiful.
जो फादर की किताब है ना, वो उसका टाइटल है बच्चों की नज़में. तो ये जब मैंने हिंदी में ट्रांसलेट की ना, तो आई जस्ट टुक ए चांस. आई वेंट टू पब्लिकेशन डिवीजन बिकॉज माय फादर रिटायर्ड फ्रॉम देयर. सो आई रिक्वेस्टेड देम कि अगर आप करोगे, तो उन्होंने कहा आप छोड़ दीजिए, हम देखेंगे. तो मैं छोड़ के आ गई, फॉरवर्ड भी लिख के आ गई. तो देन लेटर दे कॉल्ड मी, दे सेड बात ऐसी है कि हम ना ये पोएट्री नहीं आजकल शाये करते, पर क्योंकि आजाद साहब ने तराना लिखा है पाकिस्तान का, हम ये शाये करेंगे आपकी किताब. ये किताब मेरी शाये हुई. अच्छा, इसमें ना बच्चों की, बिल्कुल बच्चों की नज़में हैं और एजुकेटिव भी है. महात्मा गांधी पे भी है, देश हुआ आजाद भी है, दिवाली भी है. जो 2 नज़में हैं उनकी जो बाल भारती में छपी थी, एक है तमाशे वाला, आओ बच्चों 2 पैसे में दुनिया भर की, वो बाइस्कोप वाले की है, और एक है जादू वाला, मैं हूँ जादू वाला बच्चों मैं हूँ. जब ये 2 नज़में बाल भारती में छपी, I distinctly remember my grandmother telling my father, Lal, ये नज़में छापिया कर, बना लिखा कर. And the smile he gave her, thinking that how can I do just this, you know.
Okay.
So, and
that's so beautiful. Could you recite few of them, few of these poetries? Beautiful.
Yes.
Very simple, very engraving.
बहुत सिंपल है. और इसका और मुझे खुशी हुई जब ये किताब छप गई. 1000 copies they published. So I thought, हाय कौन खरीदेगा, कौन लेगा. So डॉक्टर शी टोल्ड मी कि आप फिक्र मत करो, कौन खरीदेगा कौन लेगा, आप मस्त रहो, उनको शाये करने दो. After 2 years I got a phone call, मैम अपने एड्रेस दीजिए, सेकंड एडिशन छपा है, आपको 2 कॉपी भेजेंगे. चलो सेकंड एडिशन 1000 copies. Last month I got another phone call, थर्ड एडिशन छप गया. So I was so happy. 1000 copies.
I mean, this writing is so penetrating. It's so easy. It's seeping around. बहुत आप मुझे कोई you can recite just few lines just to feel Azad Sahab.
मैं आपको ये,
it is very difficult to write easy. It's very easy to write difficult. That's what Tolstoy says.
मैं ना एक ये महात्मा गांधी की कुछ लाइनें ये पढ़ देती हूँ और कुछ ये तमाशे वाला का. चमका एक सितारा, भारतवर्ष में चारों जानिब छाया जब अंधियारा, उस अंधियारे के सीने में चमका एक सितारा, भारतवर्ष के इस तारे को कहते हैं सब गांधी, इस बिगड़े संसार में लाया प्रेम की चलती आंधी. पहले अपने देश में चमका, फिर अफ्रीका पहुंचा, वहां भी जाकर अंधियारे से वो तारा टकराया. And then I'll little bit तमाशे वाला, जो बाइस्कोप वाला. आओ बच्चों, तब 2 पैसे का होता था. आओ बच्चों 2 पैसे में दुनिया भर की सैर करो, नजारे दिखलाने वाला, जग की सैर कराने वाला, डिब्बा अपने सिर पे उठाए, गली गली में जाने वाला, आज तुम्हारे घर के बाहर रंग जमाने आया, 2 पैसे में दुनिया भर की सैर कराने आया। अब इसमें देखिए, नीचे मैंने थोड़ा एक समझाया है, इसमें ये भी है, एक लाइन है समथिंग कि 12 मन की धोबन देखो। तो मैंने कहा आजकल के बच्चों को 12 मन की धोबन नहीं पता होगी तो ये एक कैरेक्टर है, तो इस तरह
You
की
need to
मैंने
explain
ये,
it. Yes, that's how you should write the notes and just have this.
हाँ मैंने लिखा है, इसमें है एक 12 मन की धोबन देखो। तो
How do you
एक बात
explain
और
that? How do you explain that?
मैंने लिखा है, वो एक काल्पनिक वो है, कैरेक्टर है, आई थिंक समथिंग लाइक दैट ओनली आई हैव।
ये हमारे टाइम में भी हमने भी नहीं सुना।
हाँ
ये आपने सुना है? नहीं।
नहीं, मैंने तो बिल्कुल ही नहीं सुना है।
Please tell us about what does it mean? Beautiful. You're doing wonderful
देखिए,
work.
भाई को बड़ा दिखाता है ना, एक धोबन है बहुत मोटी सी, तो 12, आजकल तो मन है नहीं, आजकल तो किलोज है, तो
Okay.
ये मैंने लिखा है 12 मन की धोबन। मैंने लिखा है 12 मन की धोबन एक काल्पनिक पात्र है, मन एक वजन है, नॉट द हार्ट, कि 40 से यानी तकरीबन 33 किलो का एक मन होता है। आजकल वजन और शेर और मन में नहीं, बल्कि ग्राम और किलोग्राम में होते हैं। सो इसमें वो ये जब दिखाता था ना, एक 12 मन की धोबन दिखाता था, मोटी सी लेडी लेटी हुई है, तो वो थी, वो 12 मन की धोबन थी।
Oh, that's so wonderful. That's so wonderful.
आगे आओ तो आज को देखो, कल को देखो, आज को देखो, चाहो अगर तो यूरोप जाकर अफरंगी के राज को देखो, तुमको सैर सपाटे शौकीन बनाने आया।
Bioscope. He talks about the bioscope.
This is the bioscope, yeah. This poem is on
We have
bioscope.
seen in our childhood, we have seen bioscope. Jammu की गलियों में हम लोग, we have streets, we have seen these bioscopes coming. Yeah, that's so wonderful. He has.
तो आजकल भी होंगे, पर हर जगह नहीं है ना, ये मुश्किल है।
Okay.
आजकल भी बाइस्कोप तो जरूर होता होगा कहीं ना कहीं तो,
In the villages and the towns, but you know the kind of a thing which it was in our times, that was slightly different. और उस जमाने में जब आपका जमाना था या उनका जमाना था, then it might have been entirely different in terms of the instrument and all the things, paraphernalia around. Anyway, what would Poonam ji, any anecdote do you remember about Azad Saab you want to share which you missed on?
Can I say something? अगर पूनम ने जाफरी साहब की बात की थी ना, उनका एक छोटा सा जोक मुझे याद आया। एक मुशायरे में वो गए तो वो कहने लगे कि मैं एक आशिकाना कुछ अर्ज करना चाहता हूँ, मेरा रंग वैसे आशिकाना नहीं है। तो फादर एकदम बोले कि आपका रंग माशुकाना है। एकदम से उनको टोक के बीच में बोले आपका रंग माशुकाना है।
That's so wonderful. That's so wonderful.
Jugal ji, one small thing.
Yes.
One small thing I'd like to say. Papa was, since he was a strict disciplinarian, you know, he was very particular about timings. Two things he was very passionate about: pronunciation in Urdu or in whatever language. But since Urdu was very close to him, he was very particular about pronunciation. We were not allowed to, you know, pronounce any word incorrectly. Like generally, you know, people, I mean, half the world doesn't pronounce Urdu words with ease, with proper, you know.
Yes, people do not have that much of fluency.
Like kagaz. Generally, people don't say kagaz, they say kagaz. So he was very particular. He used to say, "Arey bhai, kagaz nahi hota, kagaz hota hai. Khuda nahi hota, khuda hota hai." So once my mother pronounced something, you know, mispronounced something, he immediately pointed out and he told her, "Vimla, ऐसे नहीं कहते, तुम मेरी बीवी होके मेरे साथ पूरी उम्र गुजार के अब इस लहजे में बात करोगी." So my mother एकदम at once she said, नहीं मुझे तो आप सही बताओ ना फिर क्या है. So he used to at once pinpoint, you know, what you were doing wrong. And then the second thing I'd like to tell you was his humility. He was such a humble soul. He was such a simple soul. His requirements in life were very few. Can you believe it? He never had an AC in his room. He used to sleep under the fan. And the fan was running not beyond number 2. 2 नंबर पे पंखा चला के वो पूरे जम्मू की भरपूर गर्मी में सोते थे और अपने टेबल पे, डेस्क पे बैठते थे. So anybody coming into his room, my mother often used to tell him, आपके कमरे में तो कोई बैठ ही नहीं सकता, इतनी गर्मी में कौन आपके साथ बैठेगा. He says, जिसको बैठना है बैठे, जिसको नहीं बैठना है मत बैठे भाई, हम तो ऐसे ही बैठते हैं. You know, he was a simple soul. I'll tell you another small incident. 2 people came to meet him once in our Gandhinagar residence, And when they left, Papa was very particular about conduct. When they left, it was mandatory that he would definitely go and see off that person at the gate, and he would stand there till that person left. And आंखों से जब तक वो ओझल नहीं होते थे. My mother once asked him. He said, आप तो छोड़ने हर एक को छोड़ने जाते हो बाहर. He says, ये तहजीब का हिस्सा है. अगर मैं उसको छोड़ने नहीं जाऊंगा, वो उसको अच्छा नहीं लगेगा. It is a small gesture of respect कि मैं उसको छोड़ने जाता हूँ. और this मुझे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता, लेकिन उस बंदे के दिमाग में हमेशा रहेगा कि देखो वो मुझे बाहर तक छोड़ने आए. So similarly, two people came to see him, and when Papa went to see them off, they were on a scooter, a scooter. So the person sitting at the back was an elderly person, and the minute he rode the pillion, he was sat on the back seat. He could not find the footrest, and he was trying to struggle and find the footrest. So Papa stood there for a minute and saw what was happening. So again he was trying to manage to find the footrest. My father just got hold of his leg and put his foot on the footrest and said, अब आप ठीक से बैठे हैं, अब आप चलिए, अब आप ठीक से बैठ गए हैं. That person was so touched. He got up and he just hugged him and he said, Azad साहब, मैं आपके कद का बंदा मेरे टांग पकड़ के मुझे बिठा रहा है, और मैं इस चीज को जिंदगी भर कभी भूल ही नहीं सकता. My father said, इसमें तो कोई बड़ी बात है नहीं. आप अगर नहीं पाँव सीधा रखते तो आप गिर जाते, तो मैंने तो आपको भाई सही तरीके से बिठाया ताकि आप गिरे नहीं. These small things were very important to him.
Define his personality.
Yes. He was very conscious of the stature that he had in society, in the literary world, but his humility was beyond that. He was such a humble soul. He always used to say कि जो दरख्त जितना ज्यादा लदा हुआ होता है, उसे उतना ही ज्यादा झुकना चाहिए. These were, every sentence of his had a world of wisdom. People who used to come and sit with him, students, there were so many students doing PhD under him, and so many students from all part of India, Bihar, Darbhanga, UP, so many students used to come, and he used to tell my mother कि भाई फलाना फलाना आ रहा है, वो मुझ पे PhD कर रहा है और उसको मटेरियल चाहिए और वो हमारे यहाँ रहेगा. So most welcome. He always most welcome, not an issue at all. So then my mother used to say, then Papa used to tell him, say कि they are not very well off students. वो बेचारा इतनी दूर से टिकट खर्च के आ रहा है, तो वो हमारे यहाँ रहेगा. मैं नहीं चाहता कि उसके फालतू में होटल में पैसे लगें और वो उतना ही वक्त जाया करेगा आने जाने में. So he will stay at home. Our house was like an open house for everybody. My mother played the perfect hostess. She welcomed everybody to her house.
And she was not vexed by this intervention.
No. We were very friendly with those people. They used to spend the time allotted to them, whatever was required. They used to spend with Papa, and the rest of the time they were regaling with us. We were more friendly with them. They were eating with us at the dining table. So they said this is part of the household culture. This is part of the culture which we will include in our thesis. And we are so impressed by the affection and the love that we have received from Azad Saab's family, that this is part of, the Azad culture. He was an institution by himself,
Yes, he was a great institution. Poonam, I want to ask one thing, he was a bureaucrat, he was an academician, he was a writer. Writer comes the first. He was one of the tallest luminary of Urdu. And encyclopedia, on Ghalib, and encyclopedia on Iqbal, and he was a very well-learned person. You have seen him as a bureaucrat as well as a person in the information, and then also as an academician. Any of his roles overlapped over each other? As a person, how do you differentiate between all this?
No, never. When he was in office, he was very stern, and when he was in office, he never mixed both his literary pursuits together, both his aptitudes aspects together. At home he was a different person. At home he was a poet, a father, a husband, and while he was in office, he was a totally official person. in office also, no, I mean, they were, his staff also used to respect him so much, and he was very diligent. I remember in I think in this 1977 Mrs. Gandhi's visit only, we had a teleprinter installed in our house, because messages were coming day in and day out, and there was an all-round, all-round. Papa was always on the move. He was organizing press conferences, so it was not possible for him to spend the night in the office or for his staff. So they installed a teleprinter. उस ज़माने में teleprinter होता था. They installed a teleprinter in our house, and I still remember the tick 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 of the messages coming and going. And he intermittently would get up to see what is the next. So he was a very dedicated person, as
himself.
Yes, absolutely.
Mukta ji, you want to share anything else about these personalities, these poets? You shared the memories of Sahir, and you shared the memories of great poets like Katil Shafai and others. Any more anecdote which you have? I mean, which
first time we went to Pakistan for a mushaira, जो नकूश के एडिटर थे,
yes, नकूश,
नाम नहीं याद आ रहा, उन्होंने इनको खाने पे बुलाया, अपने वहां पे दावत दी. तो he had vegetarian, he served vegetarian food, not knowing that he's a non-vegetarian. जब खाना खा लिया, खत्म हो गया, तो मेरे फादर कहते हैं अगर यही खिलाना था तो पाकिस्तान क्यों बनाया?
Sense of humor. That is the sense of humor, and know, it is very subtle and very effective. खाना था तो पाकिस्तान क्यों बनाया आप लोगों ने?
ये खाना था तो पाकिस्तान क्यों बनाया? और of course when अभी वैसे तो अभी भी आजकल भी ना ऐसा ख्याल से लोग जो बात करते हैं, कभी they remember them, and till today articles about both my father and grandfather are being published over there. Oh yes,
he was a journalist. He was a journalist also. He had a career as a journalist also.
Actually, he was working with Jain, paper Jain, when this partition took place. Abhi to my grandfather got very scared when he heard that the journalists have been killed, mercilessly.
You told about that incident. Probably your grandfather thought that Azad Sahab is also met with an accident.
He thought, because there was no news from his side. There was no news, so he was naturally, as a father, he was very worried. Or as Poonam said, he was very particular about pronunciation and all, and wrong Urdu. अगर कोई कह दे कि मुशायरा देखने जा रहे हैं,
हाँ,
so he would say
मुशायरा देखते नहीं, मुशायरा सुनते हैं.
He would say the word Kodan. Kodan को ये नहीं पता कि
मुशायरा देखने जा रहे हैं.
Jugal ji, one more instance I'd like to share with everyone.
Yes, I mean, we are 2 hours and 20 minutes past, but slightly we'd like to, yes, please, you go on, we'll close it after some time. Yeah.
One more small instance I'd like to tell you about his, wit and his subtle way of expressing, in one sentence, he would give you a world of, wisdom. I'll tell you a small instance. He once came home and said कि भाई आज तो बड़े एक अजीब वाकया हुआ मेरे साथ. So my mother said क्या हुआ? He says he was telling us about a student, a colleague of his, and who had come with an application for leave. So he said कि उसने मुझे application दी और मुझे कहा कि सर मुझे छुट्टी चाहिए. I shall relate this in Urdu because इसका लुत्फ आपको उर्दू में ही आएगा. So he said कि she said कि मुझे छुट्टी चाहिए. तो he said भाई आप अपनी एप्लीकेशन दे दीजिए, कब छुट्टी चाहिए, फलां दिन चाहिए, बता दिया उन्होंने. Then he said कि जैसे मैंने उसकी एप्लीकेशन पढ़ी, मैं थोड़ा सन्नाटे में आ गया. So that he says मैंने उनकी शक्ल देखी और मैंने उनको पूछा कि he said कि she was a little bewildered कि मुझे छुट्टी मिलेगी कि नहीं, because the way he looked up to her. तो he said कि भाई मुझे ये बताइए कि आप इस एप्लीकेशन से मुझसे छुट्टी मांग रही हैं या मुझे छुट्टी दे रही हैं. So that so he said उर्दू वालों को इंग्लिश की इतनी ज्यादा प्रैक्टिस नहीं होती, but the application, since it had to be written in English, he said मैंने उनको यही बोला, भाई आप मुझे ये बता दीजिए, मुझे आपकी एप्लीकेशन देख के ये समझ नहीं आ रहा कि आप मुझसे छुट्टी मांग रही हैं या मुझे छुट्टी दे रही हैं. These small anecdotes we have ample to share.
How Punjabi was he at the core of his heart? How Punjabis are exuberant, they are demonstrative, they are emotional, they're the great people.
No.
He was a cosmopolitan in his temperament and mindset.
Absolutely,
Exposed.
absolutely, absolutely.
Once he went to Johnny Tarakter's house. So उनका
That is
बड़ा
character.
बेटा,
Wonderful. Wonderful. Mukta ji, please. Yeah, I'm waiting for
तो
that.
उनका बेटा आया, तो आदाब वगैरह हुआ, तो उन्होंने फादर ने पूछा भाई तुम क्या करते हो? मैं डॉक्टर हूँ। तो कहते हैं जी मेरी कमर में बहुत दर्द रहती है। तो कहता है कि अंकल मैं तो दिमाग का डॉक्टर हूँ, दिमाग। तो कहते जाओ अपने अब्बा का इलाज करो। जाओ फिर अपने अब्बा का इलाज करो। इनकी कमर दर्द से एक और चीज है।
Janis Akhtar's
Sorry.
son. You're talking about Javed Akhtar's brother. I mean, Azad Sahab.
Javed Akhtar's elder brother, Salman.
Elder brother, yeah. He's a poet as well. He's a psychiatrist and a poet.
Yeah, he's a psychiatrist. So he says, मैं दिमाग का इलाज, he says अपने अब्बा का इलाज करो फिर।
That's so wonderful.
Because of his कमर दर्द रहती है, he had this lumbago problem. तो शाह ऑफ ईरान जब आए इंडिया, तो उनकी डेलीगेशन भी साथ आई। तो जो फादर के काउंटर पार्ट थे, उनको और फादर को अशोका होटल में एक कमरा मिला। तो उन्होंने उनको बताया बातों बातों में कि मुझे लंबेगो की बहुत दर्द रहती है। तो वो कहने लगे तुम अजीब शायर हो कि तुम दर्द जिगर के बदले दर्द कमर लेके बैठे हो। तो you know these small things he used to tell us. Interesting.
To use those intonations always to, I mean, insert with his humor and the way he wanted to convey things to the fellow people.
You know, he was so deadly against movies. I don't know how Poonam was saying कि पिक्चर देखते थे। हमारे मेरी सिस्टर को बड़ा शौक।
पिक्चर नहीं देखते थे. If my mummy was watching a movie and on the television, and if he entered the room, he would just sit, glance at the TV, and disgustingly get up and say, "अरे भाई ये क्या तुम वाहियात चीजें देखती रहती हो?" You know yes क्या film. He was sort of.
पहले जब पिक्चर बनते थे ना, तो उसके गाने एक छोटी सी बुकलेट में आ जाते थे। एक आने की मिलती थी 6 नए पैसे। एक आने की उसने बहुत सारी इकट्ठी कर ली, हर पिक्चर के गाने लेकर रखती थी। फादर को नहीं पता था, जब उनकी नजर पड़ी किताबें एक तरफ हुई, सिस्टर एक तरफ हुई। So you know that way
in our times I remember when we were in school notebook जो हमारी होती थी ना, नोटबुक के पीछे सॉन्ग लिखा, कश्मीरी जब अपनी हिंदी फिल्मों के सॉन्ग लिखे होते। I remember. Now I can recollect. Anyway, I mean, let's we are I mean, coming to the close. You were saying something else. You want to, Mukta ji, recollect any more anecdote?
I think that's all.
Okay, that's all for now. That's all for now. I mean, we can talk on Jagan Nath Azad Sahab endlessly. I mean,
one thing more I'd like to say through your channel, please, because I learned from somebody. People have the impression that he expired in Jammu, but that's not correct. Somebody told me कि लोग कह रहे हैं यहाँ पर, that's not correct. He was in Delhi, Rajiv Gandhi Hospital, New Delhi.
He passed away in the hospital. Yes, we were both
there together when he passed away. It was in Delhi.
He passed away.
What was his condition? I mean, how was he as a when he felt sick? And he was in his 80s or 70s. What was his age that time?
No, he passed away when he was 85.
85. But when he felt sick, I mean, what was his state of mind? Because we really want to know that side of Azad Sahab.
Yeah. I think only last 1 or 2 days he was delirious. Otherwise he was fine.
He was very sporting about his. He actually had CA prostrate. He was very sporting about his. You know, basically because being a person of that level, he was medically totally blank. He had no idea. पूरी जिंदगी में उन्हें कभी सर दर्द भी नहीं हुआ था. And he had no idea about the intensity of. Though gradually. He was being treated in Rajiv Gandhi Cancer Institute in Delhi. Gradually, regarding this, I'll tell you a small incident also.
Yes, please.
You know, the other side of my father, the very soft side of my father. I'll like to share another incident. He was admitted there for his radiation. He was supposed to have 36 sittings of radiations, and during one of his radiation sittings, he was supposed to go down to the radiation room. I was with him throughout his illness. I was with him throughout, whether it was in Jammu or whether it was in Delhi. I was like a shadow with him, you know. And till his last hours, till last minutes, I was with him. And he was supposed to be taken down to the radiation room. I went looking for a wheelchair, but unfortunately, I found a wheelchair, but unfortunately, there was no ward boy to wheel the chair. So I brought the wheelchair into the room, and he asked me कि तुम कुछ साथ किसी को नहीं लाई? So I said नहीं, साथ वहां था ही कोई नहीं. He said हम फिर कैसे जाएंगे? I said मैं ले जाऊंगी आपको. He says तुम ले जाओगी? I said क्यों, मैं क्यों नहीं ले जा सकती आपको? He said चलो भाई तुम्हारे साथ ही चलते हैं. So then I took him down. He got his radiation done, and when he came up, he was a little emotional, you know. He told my mother कि भाई ये तो बड़ा कमाल करती है, ये हमें नीचे ले भी गई, ऊपर ले भी आई, इसे तो किसी वार्ड बॉय की जरूरत ही नहीं है. So then he became a little sentimental, and he said कि विमला तुम्हारी ये बेटी 100 बेटे दुनिया के एक तरफ और तुम्हारी ये बेटी एक तरफ. So I just hugged him and I said, Papa ji, you have not only made my day, you have given me such a blessing I will cherish till the day I die. Another small incident. I hope I'm not taking too much of your time.
No, not time. No, it's not my time. It's the it's our time, rather. Yeah. When you were in the university, I remember I used to also come to the two, three people, the English literature department, and your father was an HOD of Urdu department. Did it somewhere down the line you felt like that you are the daughter of one of the very eminent personality and a professor and HOD of this university?
Actually, the name Azad itself spells respect. Yes, it spells respect. I have still retained this name with me, though I am Sharma now, but still I always write Poonam Azad.
It is not
Azad is my identity. Azad is my identity, you know.
You are emancipated.
Yes, absolutely. And you know, the minute I introduce myself as Azad Saab's daughter, I am on a different plane altogether. You know, people respect you so much. They are in so much of awe of my father that I feel as if I am the most blessed person on this earth.
That's so.
His name is enough. It spells magic, you know, his name. Only to people who are aware of people of literary pursuits, otherwise not to any common man, people who are aware of his works, people who are aware of all that his contribution is to Urdu literature. Only those are the ones who value him truly, you know.
We'll close this program on some couplet. If you like to share some, Mukta ji, some poem, and then Poonam ji also I'll ask.
Yes.
कोई एक बताइए, कोई एक कविता, अच्छी सी कविता, some poem of which you really are fond of. Azad Saab's any poem you would like to say, Mukta ji?
No, I would not. Mukta ji can recite his poem, but I would like to recite a small couplet, a small two-liner, and you know, just you know, sharing my emotions as a daughter.
Okay, please.
सूरतें इलाही किस देश बस्तियां हैं, वो जिनको देखने को आंखें तरसतियां हैं. So आंखें बहुत तरसती हैं सब अपने पापा को देखने.
That's so wonderful, great. The you know, two-liners, byliners are wonderful. They take us to that state in which it has been said by your great father. Mukta ji?
You want me to read the whole one full this thing or just
not
few?
Full. I mean, you can just do it, but I want a slightly 6-7 lines minimum. 6-7 lines to ho no. So this will be injustice to our audience and spectators. That Mukta ji is speaking, and yet, you know.
I'm just thinking, what should I read?
You have to decide it. Mukta ji.
Okay, I will. This one I will read. 15 August 1947. Actually, you know, this was he recited this. Some people say it's a ghazal, some say it's a nazm, but I think it's a nazm. और ये ना इस पे जब पंडित इन्होंने मुशायरे में पढ़ी तो पंडित नरू ने भी इनको दाद दी थी इस नज़म पे. ये 15 अगस्त 1947. ये कहते हैं, न पूछो जब बहार आई तो दीवानों पे क्या गुजरी, जरा देखो कि इस मौसम में फरजानों पे क्या गुजरी, बहार आते ही टकराने लगे क्यों सागर और मीना, बताए पीरे मैं खाना ये मैं खानों पे क्या गुजरी, फिजा में हर तरफ क्यों धज्जियां आवारा हैं उनकी, जुनून सर फरोशी तेरे अफसानों पे क्या गुजरी, विसाले शमे की हसरत से सब बेताब फिरते थे, मैं क्या जानूं हजूर शमे परवानों पे क्या गुजरी, कहो देरो हरम वालों कि तुमने क्या फूंका, खुदा के घर पे क्या बीती, शर्म खानों पे क्या गुजरी, निशाने बरगे गुल तक भी नजर आता नहीं हमको, समझ में कुछ नहीं आता गुलिस्तानों पे क्या गुजरी, जहां नूरे शहर के भी कदम जमने न पाते थे, बताए कौन आखिर उन शबिस्तानों पे क्या गुजरी। वो रंगो नूर से भरपूर बुस्तानों पे क्या बीती, शबाब व शेर से मामूर काशानों पे क्या गुजरी। कभी तो चश्मे इबरत वक्त की रफ्तार देखेगी, अभी ये किस तरह कह दे सितमरानों पे क्या गुजरी। ना पूछ आजाद अपने और बेगानों का अफसाना, ना पूछ आजाद अपने और बेगानों का अफसाना, हुआ था क्या ये अपनों को, ये बेगानों पे क्या गुजरी।
That's so wonderful.
और दिस पंडित नेहरू ने भी उनको दाद दी थी।
I mean, he writes so lucidly. He writes like Tolstoy. He's about they are the higher शायर, उस लेवल के लोग हैं जो शब्दों का जब कोश नहीं करते. They bring everything to simplicity, to lucidity, like that gushing torrent, gushing brook, and it directly penetrates into our heart and consciousness. That is the skill of the great gifted writers like your father. With that wonderful poem, we'd like to close today's program. It was a delight for having this brainstorming session with me. I don't know whether I was able to be very, interject at very proper intervals or not. But I think this was a very, very exhilarating, very enriching session. We came to know about the personality of Azad Saab from the point of view of his worthy daughters, and it gave us an entire whole world of Azad Saab, a world of Azad Saab which people might not have been known, which people might not have known till now.
Yes.
That's so wonderful. That's so wonderful. So great. So pleasure. Thank you very much. It was a great privilege, great honor to have Poonam ji and Mukta ji with us.
Thank you.
Shitala
Thank you so
Conversations
much,
87 historic
Thank you,
share.
Jugal.
We
It's
are
our
so
pleasure
honored
that
to be here.
honor for
So
us to be with you.
So honored
Thank
to
you.
be here today. Thank
Thanks
you
a
so
lot.
much, sir.
Good night.
It was a
Best
wonderful
wishes.
video. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. So that was Mrs. Mukta Lal and Poonam Azad Sharma, the great worthy daughters of Jagan Nath Azad Sahab. And it certainly it was a great pleasure. You might have all been interesting to note about this, understand this journey of this today's program, which unfolded into the life story and anecdotes of Azad Saab with the personalities, contemporary personalities of his time, pre-partition days, and all these wonderful stories about Azad Saab. So I think we are enriched today. This is a great tribute to this great man, great son of the soil. I think I would request Mukta ji that she, transliterates most of his literature into the Hindi, because the 80% population, 80% readers of this country are yet away from what Azad Sahib had written, because he has written into this Naxali script. So I think he needs to reach more and more people to understand it, to make it understand to the wider audience, wider people, wider literature, wider readers about his depth, and to share the lucidity, the joy of his writing. With that, I would like to close today's program. But before I go, I would like to just have a couplet of Sahir Saab. I'm also a Sahir fan. Sahir's character, I'm a fan of his character, his writing, his personality, unification of his thought, in and out. So that is, मेरी फना मेरे एहसास का तकाजा है, मैं जानता हूं कि दुनिया का खौफ है तुमको, मुझे खबर है ये दुनिया अजीब दुनिया है, यहाँ हयात के पर्दे में मौत पलती है, शिकस्त साज की आवाज रूह नगमा है, मुझे तुम्हारी जुदाई का कोई रंज नहीं. And one more, that is this Mahadevi Verma, one of my great poetess whom I admire in Hindi, my mother's favorite, my favorite. कौन तुम मेरे हृदय में, कौन मेरी कसक में नित मधुरता बरता अलक्षित, कौन प्यासे लोचनों में घुमड़ गिर जड़ता अपरिचित, स्वरन सपनों का चितेरा नींद के सोने सोने निलय में, कौन हो तुम मेरे हृदय में, अनुसरण निश्वास मेरे कर रहे किसका निरंतर, चूमने पर चिन्ह किसके लौटता श्वास फिर, कौन बंदी कर मुझे अब बन गया अपनी विजय में, कौन तुम मेरे हृदय में. Thank you very much. This was a wonderful having an interaction, being part of the associates of the all viewers of Sheetal of Conversations 87th historic show or Jagan Nath Azad Sahab. With that, I wish you all the best. Jai Hind, good night, best wishes.